Welcome back to the Consecrator Seat, guys. We are here today with Zap Crystal, musician, content creator, director. Welcome. And thanks for wanting to
Thank you,
do it as
thank you,
well.
thank
I
you.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Appreciate you having me. It's kind
Okay.
of weird to be on an interview after a while.
Right. So, my first
Um,
question is just give your summary of what type of creator and maybe other things that you are as well, so people that don't know what you are.
well, for those that don't know or kind of know, whatever it is, my
Hmm.
name is Zap Crystal. Well, my name is Crystal, but I go by Zap Crystal.
Okay.
I've been as a content creator on YouTube. Mainly, that's been my primary platform for over 7 years. I'm also a Capcom creator. I'm an Xbox ambassador, so I represent both brands. I run major campaigns for them, like Street Fighter, Resident Evil, you name it. Whatever they have going on, I kind of represent them as an ambassador. I'm a retro game collector, so that's mainly what I'm into when it comes to hobbies. I have a almost complete 3DS collection. I'm close to 300 and something titles.
Woo.
I have a very complete US Resident Evil collection. I don't want to jump into imports because then you're just like never done for those that are collectors. You know what I'm talking about. And
Okay.
and I just have a huge background in gaming, not only because of being a content creator, but because my whole family is a family of gamers. So I've been doing this from a very young age. So yeah,
Okay. That's what's
yeah.
up. Welcome in, guys, with the pen. Welcome in, Master Sword. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate it. If y'all know people that's into this type of stuff, let them know about it too. I appreciate that as well. So, my first question is gonna be with YouTube. So, what was the hardest thing that you did with YouTube, like in your early years?
Everything.
Everything.
just just
Okay.
just everything overall. I think the hardest thing for me was actually like being a one man team. Because fun fact, my dad's a musician, so I've always kind of run all of his business in the background. Like I've learned at a
Okay.
very young age,
Mm-hmm.
like contracts and bonding, making connections and stuff like that.
Okay.
So those things I've kind of just learned them as we go because of my dad. I
Mm-hmm.
started music at a very early age, so that meant that when I say an early age, like I was 17 when I started.
Okay.
So when I was 17, I was invited to television sets, different programs where I would just kind of host and co-host with other people. So that gave me a lot of experience background wise.
Okay.
But in those scenarios, it's easy because they have a crew, so everybody kind of does what they're told to do, and
Right.
you're just like I like to say, be pretty for the picture.
Okay.
But when you're doing it, you know what I mean. But when you're doing it on your own and you don't really have a crew, then you kind of have to learn, how to get the lighting right, how to get the frame right, how to record, what are you going to say, you pretty much have to learn how to do everything by yourself. So that was a huge learning curve because I didn't know how to edit. I didn't know how to use a camera back then. Like there was just a lot of things I was new to. So I would literally like DIY a tripod, just put a stack of books and put my camera on top of it.
Yeah.
I would like film close to a window because that way I can have some natural lighting. Of course, I made a lot of mistakes. Like I would literally like sat in front of a window and then placed my camera right in front of me so that I looked like I had this huge white halo behind me. It's just like just a lot of rookie mistakes.
Yeah.
Um and just I didn't know how to use a camera. So and then
Okay.
also like I lacked a lot of camera confidence. So that's a lot of stuff that you kind of learn over the years of doing it over and over and over again. So I didn't really have nobody who taught me these things. I just kind of learned as we go. So
Okay,
my
that's
first videos are cringy as hell.
I understand. Yeah, it is when you think about it, like when you start your channel, you have the idea for it, but you may not necessarily know how to execute it just well. I know for me, I was recording off my actual phone, my LG phone I had, and the quality was trash.
Well, when I
And
started, and
yeah.
I'm just dating myself right now, it was when YouTube had a rating of stars.
Oh wow.
So like, yeah, YouTube was ugh, God, Jesus. Like I love YouTube right now compared to when I started. And it was like 480p and stuff. Jesus, I don't even get me started. But I had a I had this camera, and fun fact, I didn't this wasn't a camera I purchased exclusively to start YouTube. I had this camera way
Okay.
back because I had a business where I did crocheted items for photographers. So I did like
Okay.
studio props for babies.
Mm-hmm.
So I needed a good camera to photograph my products. So I had this online store on Facebook where I would sell my crocheted items. So by the time I wanted to start YouTube, I was like, well, I already have a camera because I have a camera for my business. So I just might as well use it to start my YouTube channel. So that's kind of how it started. I never really purchased things to start my YouTube channel. I just used what I had at that moment and, kind of learned from there.
That's a smart way to go about it because you don't have to spend as much. And then the thing is that I also kind of struggle with was just the scheduling because I was making content, but I wasn't making it like every day. Like it was like, okay, one video this week, one video this week, and then people like, so that's just it. You doing one videos or two videos a week, and I'm like, this is not working. The other
Yeah.
thing that I struggled with was editing. Editing was definitely one in thumbnails.
Yeah.
That was something that
It's
yeah, that was a bit of a challenge,
yeah.
especially thumbnails because I seen this guy and he had videos and I mean he was very unorthodox. And like he was using like his actual video and not making thumbnails. I said, man, I think I could do that. You know what I'm saying? And YouTube was like, nah, bro. YouTube like came on me like you need to go make some thumbnails.
Oh God, if I show you my first thumbnails to where I'm at right now, I'm like, Jesus. But it was what I knew at that time. So
Yeah,
I can't even be hard on myself because I one thing I will give to my past self that I'm really
yeah,
proud of and I try to keep till this day is that I was very passionate. I
yeah.
was my number one fan.
Okay.
So
Okay, that's what's up. Let me see what people said. Crystal, you look beautiful by going to run back. This is my new favorite director.
oh
Synthesizer says finally catching the live. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. And Master Sword Music said the struggle with thumbnails. Agreed, bro. I struggle with that. I
yeah.
remember I took a week
It's
off. People like, where you at?
look,
I like
if
I gotta
you
learn.
get me if you get me telling stories like the stories I say, like nobody would believe me right now. Cause like it's easy for somebody to come now and like watch,
Yeah.
years and years of learning and just polishing my content. But like I
Hmm.
struggled. I started from the bottom up. Like like my first editing software was literally I hate to say it, but it's the truth. It was
Okay.
a video editing software that I pirated back in the day when Torrent was a thing. Sorry,
Okay.
y'all.
Yeah, I know it's torrent.
You know what I mean? Those fake keys should, that's literally was because I couldn't afford a video editing software. So I would like download the trial and I'm not proud of it, but I did what I did back in the day just to have access to those resources. So, and
Okay.
I did know what I was doing. Like if I show you, I think my first like video editing software, it don't even exist, I think, anymore. I think it was called
Wow.
NHF or something like that.
Okay.
And it was super basic, but bare bones of what a video editing software is nowadays. And
Okay.
I just kind of self-taught myself. I would like look up videos, tutorials that the video editing software would offer just to
Okay.
kind of learn like how to you think this is like something that I should know, but back
Right.
in the day, something as simple as splitting and slicing my footage, I didn't know how to do it. So
Okay.
I had to look up videos on how to even like slice my footage to just even
Okay.
make it work. Yeah.
Yeah, TJ
So
said
yeah.
he started with Sony Vegas logo. Okay. So my next question for you, did you have any gaming YouTube influences for your channel?
Yes and no.
Okay.
When I started, when I started, I first was a fan of people that now I can call my friends.
Okay.
Like during that time, there was a YouTuber called 8-Bit Eric, which he still is a YouTuber nowadays.
Okay.
But back in the day, you know, he was doing like skits and comedies and reaction videos, and he would live stream, and I would, you know, pop in his live stream every now and then. And he
Okay.
knows me like way back. Like we go way back to when my kid was like 2 years old and I was
Okay.
homeschooling and all that stuff. So we've known ourselves over the years. And I never really discussed with him that I wanted to start a YouTube channel, but I was very supportive of the people I watched during that time. The
Okay.
Game Chasers was another crew that I don't necessarily want to say that they influenced me, but it was just people that I was watching back in the day.
Okay.
Because, like I said, I was always into retro gaming. So, you know, IVGN, the Game Chasers, they were all about game hunting during that time and collecting
Okay.
video games out in the wild. And I was
Okay.
into channels and content like that. So that kind of gave me the inspiration of hey, I want to like get into gaming, but I know didn't know how I wanted to start because, you know, I was married back in the day. I had
Okay.
3 girls I was raising, my son. So we were a family of 5.
Right.
And I noticed that there was a lack of like family friendly content back in the day. So I
Okay.
wanted to create a space where I can like, and that's my first vision when I started YouTube. I wanted just to create videos with the family where
Okay.
it was more family friendly oriented, and you know, other families that were looking for similar content like that can sit down and watch a video of a mom just having fun and playing games with their kids. So that's kind of how it initiated at the beginning. It was just more so of just creating family content and just putting it out there.
Okay. That's what's up. Yeah, there are some family content creators out there. That's a group like mother, father, son, mother, father, daughter. I knew a content creator like maybe 3 years back, and they were like a prank family content creator family. I'd never seen anything like it, to be honest with you, Zap Chris. I was like, a prank content creator family, the mother, the father, and the daughter. I was amazed because I was like, I've seen gaming ones, like you said before, but I never seen anyone do pranks like where they're all doing the pranks together and pulling pranks on one
Yeah.
another. Yeah, that's what's up. Yeah, because you don't see a lot of the family based video game content. You see them, I guess, a little bit more often now. But at some point, you didn't see that. I've seen other types of family ones too, where there's a mother and the son doing the Vice segments on content and stuff. So yeah, it's cool to see people working together with their family and stuff, whether it's husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend, cousins. Honestly, at some point, I wanted to do a group channel with friends, and that just never went anywhere for me. I props to people that actually do channels with their, you know, like I said, significant other, maybe their wife or husband. I tried with friends, and it just was like they weren't confident enough. They weren't really trying to come together. It seemed like I was a little bit more ambitious than them. And I kind of said, you know what, maybe it's best for me to go solo because it's all doing things with
Yeah.
friends. It just wasn't working for me. I said, dang, you know. So yeah, that was
It
my
is.
early start for it.
Yeah, I understand completely because during that time, you know, it was just me and the kids. So
Okay.
whenever the kids were in the mood of making the videos, then I would obviously ask them. Like, I was never the type of mom that would just expose my children, to the public. If they were okay with it, I would do it. If they were not okay with it, then I wouldn't force them to do it.
Right.
But as long as they were fine, we just,
Excuse me.
it was more
Mhm.
so of me, like, wanting to build like a virtual album of memories so I can just go back and just remember the fun times that I had with them.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Yeah, definitely. And it's good that you got their consent and say, hey, are you okay with doing this? Versus putting something out and they're not really happy with the final product or just being in the video and stuff like that. So yeah, that's great that you did that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
next
And I always
question.
feel like we kind of, uh-huh.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was saying, like, I just feel like it's always important that you don't just assume that because they're family members that they're okay with everything. Like, just out of respect, ask, because you just never know. Every human being is different.
True, definitely true. You're definitely right about that. My next question I wanted to ask is, what's the inspiration behind your channel name? I always tend to ask people that because I'm sure it's a story behind it that I may
Yeah.
not know.
Oh God. So back in the day, it was kind of hard to come up with like catchy names because like YouTube names weren't really a thing. It's
Okay,
kind of hard to explain it to people nowadays,
okay,
but YouTube would create a username, and I mean, whatever your username was, whatever was available, that's pretty much what people stuck with. I mean, it is what it is, but
right.
that's how the internet worked back in the day, ladies and gentlemen. Anyways. But in that case, there was like a rise of YouTube changing. So like stars stopped becoming a way of rating, and then they started implementing like thumbs up, thumbs down, and then there was like multiple websites you can go to that they would help you like create a name for your
What?
channel. Yeah, it was like almost like a randomizer, and I went there and I just like trying to come up with names, but I couldn't find something that I can like connect. Like, there was like a wow factor for me. So
Okay,
I asked my friends. I was with a group of friends, and I'm like, "Listen, y'all, I'm trying to come up with a name. I can't come up with any cool ideas. Like, what's a name what's the first thing you think about when you think about me?" And
okay.
friends can be a little too harsh, and and
Sure.
my friends were like, "Oh, well, the first thing I think about when I look at you is Zap." And I'm like, "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" And you're like, "Well, the sound that the lightning does when you're like
Yeah.
zap, boom." Like, that's you. That's you. You're just Zap. You're like,
Okay.
and and I asked them like more and more about why they went with that name. They were like, "Well, you're just a go-getter. You're just boom, boom, boom. You like things done quick. You don't wait for nobody. You just leave an impression.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? Zap doesn't sound like a bad name. So
Yeah.
at first it started as Zap TV. Like, that originally was the first name
Wow.
of my
Okay.
YouTube channel. It was Zap TV, because the whole concept from the channel back then was reaction videos. So it was like, oh, these
Okay.
are the top things that are trending. It wasn't
Hmm.
necessarily a gaming channel, like I said. It was more of like family friendly content.
Okay.
So that's why it was called Zap TV, because it was my way of saying, hey, I'm just offering some sort of entertainment that doesn't exist out there. And obviously I'm your host because I'm Zap.
Okay.
But then later on, there's been like multiple iterations to the brand where we've like rebranded. So then from there it was Zap TV Crystal. And then afterwards, from Zap TV Crystal, I took away TV and left it as what we know now, which is Zap Crystal.
Oh wow! I would have never guessed that. I thought, you know what I thought your name was originally based off of? I knew that you're into Nintendo, so I thought like Zapdos.
Oh no. You know what's funny that
Yeah.
it didn't click with me that later on, the light guns from Nintendo are called zappers. And I was like, yo, whoever would have thought? And I came up with the name because of the zappers, but no, it was just my friends thought that I'm Zap. So that's how it
Okay.
came.
and I thought the crystal part was like,
Yeah.
oh, Pokemon. I just thought it was a Pokemon reference.
No, sorry, that's my real name. Yeah, that is my real name.
You heard it here, guys.
Yeah.
What's
So
going
yeah, I've
on,
gone through
Thousand
a lot
Star?
of changes.
Oh man,
What?
yeah, that's you're the first person that I asked about their content creator name, and I got it wrong for the first time.
Yeah, a lot of people think they know, but then when I tell them, they're like, "Really? You had those kind of friends?" I'm like, "Yeah, I
Yeah,
did."
yeah, I wish I had friends that did that for my content creator name because I'm pretty sure it'd have been different then, but I had to come up with my own. But I didn't know they had a
Yeah.
name generator for YouTube names. That's crazy. I never knew
It
that.
don't exist anymore, but back in the day, it was a thing. Like it was like third-party websites. You would go and you would type in something, and it would just would randomize a bunch of names until you would find one that you would like. But yeah, it was a thing back in the day.
Ah, hey,
Yeah.
look, that might have been before I started doing content a little bit more. Dang, I did not know that. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. I feel old just talking about it.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting. Wow. So yeah, Zap, I can see the personality. I see why they they went with Zap. I was like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah,
just was wilding out.
right. So my next question for you, I'm gonna switch it up a little bit. It's gonna go into gaming. What were some of your favorite gaming stores from back in the day, like a Circuit City, Media Play, EB Games, any one of those games stores that are no
I
longer
was
around?
I was a young thing, okay? I was young back in the day. So for me, it was KB Toys, believe it or not, because I grew
Okay,
up in the East
okay,
Coast.
KB Toys.
So
Yeah, I
we
used to go there.
so yeah, KB Toys used to be my jam. And then Radio Shack, like believe it or not, back in the day, when Radio Shack existed.
Yeah.
I used to go with my dad because my dad is into music and he just loves tech in general. So any excuse was good to him. And I would go there all the time with him. And
Okay.
then, when JCPenney used to send you the magazines through the mail back in the day, every 90s kid has done it at some point. You would circle all the stuff you wanted for Christmas,
Yeah,
just hoping
yeah.
you would get it.
Yeah, KB Toys, I used to love going to KB Toys. I remember they used to have the Black Friday sales and the Christmas sales.
Ooh, it went
You couldn't miss those.
crazy.
Yeah, they had a nice amount of sales. I gotta run, but I'll be looking for support. Thanks, Thousand Star. Yeah, it's just crazy. I was like, man, KB Toys, Radio Shack, man, the last Radio Shack in my state, they just closed like a few years ago. Radio Shack is gone completely now. I was like, I kind of miss Radio Shack.
Yeah, my last item from Radio Shack that I purchased was when I was around 18 years old, and it
Okay.
was a shoot, I forgot what it's called, but when back then when cable didn't exist, you had to get your TV antenna. That's what exactly what it was. It was like a
Okay.
TV antenna
Mhm.
just to get the signal.
Yeah.
And catch a couple of channels, whatever you were able to catch. That's what was like one of the last items I purchased from Radio Shack. So
Okay. Yeah, I think my last item from Radio Shack was like something dealing with like maybe a part of a TV or a game console, something like an attachment to something. I was like, I went back to the mall. I'm like, dang, Radio Shack closed.
I really wish they would reopen it and reopen KB Toys, because KB Toys was my jam back in the day. Like everybody would talk about Toys R Us being the big thing, and it was
Yeah,
the
Toys
big
R Us
thing. But
was.
KB Toys felt like more homey in a way.
Okay.
So I guess that's why I liked it more.
Yeah, KB Toys,
Yeah.
like I said, there were a decent amount of them like in the state that I lived in when it was around. Same thing for Radio Shack. But yeah, so KB Toys, that's what's up. JC Penney's, yeah, they
I
JC
was
Penney's.
rich, so I gotta be honest. I couldn't buy games all the time. I was lucky enough that I got a game for my birthday or for Christmas. So, if we couldn't afford like buying a game, then
Okay.
Blockbuster was where it was at. So I could rent my games, or like any third-party video rental stores that we had back in the day.
Okay.
That's where I probably would rent my games to play.
Okay, that's what's up. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I know they were talking about bringing KB Toys back a few years ago, but I guess that didn't get nowhere.
Yeah. Oh shoot! I wish they would bring it back because I would bring
Yeah,
my
they
kids
had
there and
mentioned it. I
just
seen
be
like an
back in the
article, like
day.
I seen like an article and it
Imagine.
was like, yeah, KB Toys may be coming back, and I'm like, it still ain't back.
Yeah,
Yeah, they,
I can't. I wish they would do it just to bring back, just to take my grandchildren and be like, oh, here goes grandma again. Back in the day, this was the story your mom used to go to.
Yeah, KB Toys, it's crazy. Some of the stuff that we had Blockbuster, Funko
Yeah.
Land.
Oh,
What else?
Funko
We had EB
Land.
Games. I
Chuck E.
mean,
Cheese used to be a thing, obviously. It's not
yeah,
necessarily a video game store, but you know what I mean. Entertainment wise, that used to be
right.
a thing. So,
Yeah, Media Play. A lot of our stuff is over in Canada, though. That's what I've been hearing. I'm like,
yeah,
yeah, that's the
it's
spot.
I might need to move to Canada, perhaps. I don't know. We just might need to relocate.
Yeah, I know Media Play is in Canada. I asked someone a while back, and I'm like, y'all got Media Play over there? You're like, yeah. I said, dang. Like, I miss Media
Yeah.
Play.
Oh.
Yeah, so. Yeah,
Yeah,
it seemed like
it's
Canada
summer.
said, "Hey, look, y'all ain't here no more. Oh, come on over to Canada."
Yeah, I might need to apply for a double residency over there, just citizenship. Like, go Canada, go Canada, let's go.
Yeah, Canada definitely has it, man. I said that's crazy that Canada has a lot of the stores that we had when we were younger, and it's like, like, what is Canada offering that the US ain't offering? Like, oh yeah, you residency over here. Come on over.
Yeah, it's crazy how much things have changed over time.
Okay. Yeah, true. So my next question for you is, are you more of a new gen person, or are you more into retro gaming? Or both?
I get constantly asked about this, and I
Okay.
say I'm a mix in between. I'm not really like a wholehearted retro gamer, and
Okay.
I can't really say like I'm fully into like modern gaming. It just kind of depends the mood I'm in,
Okay.
and the season that I'm in too. Like there was a time that, for example, for my 3DS, I wanted nothing but retro games. So
Okay.
I collected every single 3DS game I could imagine because, the FOMO of missing out, for physical copies.
Okay.
And I started playing retro games, but then I'm also not the type of
Excuse
person
me.
that trash a new game just
Okay.
because they're holding on to the sentiment of nostalgia. Like I think there's space for everything, especially for like evolution. I'm sorry, I'm kind of a graphic snob, so I love just seeing technology advance and seeing the new graphics and seeing how developers have the freedom of creating games and bringing their babies, their projects into life, and just seeing how good it looks, nowadays. And it's just really cool to see how much gaming has evolved over time, with it just being relatively new as a form of media. Because like if you think about it, gaming hasn't really been around for that long compared to like movies and other forms of entertainment, and yet
Okay.
it's like evolved at such a rapid pace that it's just incredible to see where gaming is right now.
That's a good response to that. Yeah, if you think about it, I remember just playing on the Super Nintendo, the Game Boy, and to think that now gaming looks so real, you can see the sweat on someone's face, a broken nose, or just like the graphics are very like realistic.
Yeah.
Like they put some money into that stuff. I was like, man, I remember when graphics
Yeah.
used to look super weird.
Oh god, it's like you see Mario back then, which don't get me wrong, it's like equally entertaining, but then you see, Super Mario Odyssey now and you're like, wow, like this looks so good.
Yeah.
Um and it's just I think that's what I like about it, just seeing the growth of gaming overall, to be able to sit down and play an old game, but then being able to see how your beloved characters still exist now thanks to developers like Nintendo,
Yeah.
Xbox, Sony, and like if it wasn't for them, I don't think gaming would be in the same place where it is right now.
Yeah, it's a different. It went through an evolution, whether it's Nintendo, Sony, even Microsoft. You saw the beginning products and where it is now. I remember playing Pokemon, Zelda, these games, and just the graphics weren't the greatest. But guess what?
Yeah.
We played it.
And it wowed us during that time, like that was impressive back in the day for what it
Yeah.
was. But now I go back to some games that in my mind, I'm like, they're great. But when I sit down and play them, I'm like, ooh, didn't age well, didn't age well.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's just you hold certain memories and experiences with certain games, and then when you go back to it, you're like, it was all right, but it wasn't necessarily my thing.
Yeah, I'll sometimes just purposely try to piss some of my friends off because they're like super hardcore fans of something and like, well, you know how they like look up a bunch of excuses, just try to defend what they love. And I'm like, yeah, but it sucks. It sucks. You gotta admit it. And well, Crystal, and I'm like, you just trying to.
I guess they said they stuck on the old games. They're like, oh, nah, we like this better. Yeah,
I think it's cool too that you have the opportunity of like being able to go back and play retro games, because I think a lot of people sleep on this idea that now Nintendo with the online service and everything, they're giving you the opportunity to go back and play these old games, and you don't necessarily have to worry about buying a console, buying like an old TV, all the hookups, all the setup, the games. Like you have so much easier like accessibility to it
yeah,
nowadays. So
yeah.
I just think it's a great time to be a gamer.
Yeah, it is. It's more popular when you think about it. And I know Fortnite was on ESPN a few years ago.
Yeah, like there's like it's coming to the point that it's so mainstream that now like traditional media, like we like to call it, can't even negate the fact that gaming is a thing. Like
Yeah,
it's one of the biggest forms of entertainment out there in the world besides movies.
yeah, yeah.
So
Gaming
yeah,
is very big. Yeah, yeah. It's just crazy. I remember seeing it. I was on. I was like, I turned on the TV. I'm like, Fortnite, ESPN. I'm
yeah.
like, whoa.
It's crazy. And you're like seeing movies nowadays, like Gran Turismo and our new Mario movie. Like, when did you think we were going to get these movies nowadays? I
Right.
never thought we were going to get a Mario movie.
Yeah,
So,
I
and then
think
a
it's
Nintendo theme park.
yeah, and then Nintendo has their own studio now too. That's under Comcast, and I'm like, well, I said Nintendo
Crazy.
said they gotta get into the movie video game adaptation and TV shows. I said, and that was smart.
Yeah, it is smart. I call Nintendo the next Disney, honestly, in gaming,
Yeah, they're
because
trying to be the next
they can do
Disney
it.
real talk. If you think
They
about
can do
it.
it. If
Yeah,
anybody, it can be Nintendo.
yeah, they got so much Pokemon money, they'll never go broke. Like Nintendo,
Oh
no, they back
god.
again.
I got enough Bayonetta and Pokemon.
So Pokemon over there rolling more numbers. Yep, here we go. Come on.
roll out Mario Kart 8. Come on, let's go.
Oh man. So how do you feel about the upcoming video game adaptations, whether they're movies or TV shows? Anything that really impressed you recently or maybe last year?
I say this is an oldie because it's been out for a while, but
Okay.
the Cuphead show was one of those shows that really showed potential of what gaming can do in other forms of entertainment.
Okay.
And it got me really excited because one, I'm a Cuphead fan, so I've always enjoyed Cuphead overall. And
Okay.
the style they went with it, I always said deep down inside that I knew this would make a perfect like old Betty Boop cartoon
Yeah,
show,
Fearless the
because
cat.
that's right.
Yeah.
It kind of gives you that vibe, like Betty Boop, the Three Stooges, kind of like
Yeah.
something like that, you know. So when they had announced that it was coming on Netflix and they were actually going to make a show focus on the game, you know, at first I was a little nervous because, you know, one thing is that this, let's be realistic, the story of Cuphead is kind of vague. There's not really a story. So I was like,
Okay.
how are you really going to expand the story into a TV show? Because
Okay.
you know, a TV show is much, it's different. You know, you got to entertain
Correct.
people, and storytelling is everything.
Yeah.
But the way they did it, it's just so well done, where they focused on like gameplay elements and the bosses and everything that kind of made Cuphead what it is, and then like highlighted it into the show itself. And
Okay.
I feel like that's what made it like blow up. And then nowadays, you know, they've talked about Castlevania, and even on a segue, this has nothing to do with gaming, but you're starting
Yeah.
to see like anime shows now starting to get like their own like live action shows, like One Piece. Like when in the world do you think you were going to get a live action show
Yeah.
of One Piece that is an anime? Like it's kind of weird. We're living in a weird era, but it's also good because you're kind of nervous because you're like, I don't know how this is gonna work. But then when you see the final product, you're like, oh, okay, this is kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
So
that's
yeah, I'm all
definitely true.
for it.
Okay. Yeah, I gotta say the most impressive Netflix anime that I saw was the Tekken. So I remember the one that came out, I think in the 90s. It wasn't that great, but the one on Netflix, oh, it blew me away. It had like the fighting moves. It had like the little electricity coming around the body and stuff. And I said, boy, Netflix was showing out with this show. Decent storyline. The visuals looked really good. But I was amazed. I said, boy, Netflix put some money into this show. I mean, I remember seeing the trailer and I said, ooh, that was like the fighting moves.
Capcom if Capcom is listening, I don't know why y'all haven't done it, but y'all should do a Street Fighter show. Like fighting games. Like give them their proper space. Come on now.
They talked about doing a show. I actually did a video on that. They talked about doing a new show and a new movie. It's still, I know there's some YouTubers that's working on the live movie. And then the TV show is still unknown. They haven't said too much about it, but I guess they're waiting on the YouTubers to put it out, I guess.
Yeah, I'm excited because like this Mario movie, everybody at first was nervous. Now it turned out to be exceptionally performing well till this day.
Yeah.
You know, and then you have like Dungeons and Dragons. Like when in the world did you think you were going to get a Dungeons and Dragons movie? And the movie is phenomenal. Like if you haven't watched it, you need to watch it because it's so good.
Yeah, definitely. I gotta say that new Dungeons and Dragons was better than the one with Marlon Wayne. That one was terrible. That was terrible. I was like, what is
this? Dude, I went in with zero expectations, and once I sat down and watched it, I was like, wow. This is really good. And then the most recent movie that I went and watched that is gaming related was Gran Turismo. And honestly, I was like, you know, it's Sony. I don't know what Sony is going to do with this movie. But dude, Gran Turismo, it got me hollering in the theater. I'm like, yeah, boy, come on now. Let's do it. I was so immersed. It was so good.
So it's more of a, now I know it's based on a true story. So I guess it's more, has an emotional base to it, so maybe that's why people connected with it. Because who was that? Diverse told me about it. I haven't seen it, but it's out on DVD.
Yeah, it's based on a true story from Sony Pictures, and I think it's totally worth watching. Like if you want to inspire someone and helping them believe like anything is possible and you can be whatever you want in the gaming setting, like Gran Turismo does a great job portraying, you know, that feeling of innovation. Like you can be whatever you want to be. So
I might have to check that. I like inspirational stuff. I might have to check that one out.
Dude, I shed a tear. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah. I remember playing Gran Turismo, but I never thought they would do a movie based on it. I was like, it sounded so strange. I'm like, wait, Gran
Yeah.
Turismo.
I was like, at first I was like, I like Gran Turismo. We'll see. But then towards the end of the movie, I was like, wow, I need to watch this again because it's so good.
Yeah, I'm
It's
about
so
to check
good.
that one out because I haven't seen it, but I've heard good things about it. So you're the second person to mention it. I'm gonna check it out when I get a chance. Because like I said,
Dude,
I
when
like
you watch
inspirational.
it, I need you to message me and tell me, Crystal, I watched Gran Turismo and I think it's so and so. Just let me
I definitely will when I check it out. If I sure haven't seen, that's like, dang, because
know.
people's like, it was pretty decent. I'm like, okay. And like I said, you the next person that
Yeah.
mentioned, I was like, oh, okay, I'm about to check this out. Maybe this is something that is better than what I thought it was going to be. The Real Nerdy Review says stepping outside your comfort zone, linking up with others, YouTubers, that's major. Keep up the great work. Thanks, Real Nerdy Review. I appreciate it, man. Like I said, this is what the Content Creator Seat is. I know people think they have this weird perception of what it is, and this is exactly what it is. I'm just asking question, answer type of thing. Nothing super left field or nothing super crazy, but that's exactly what it is, man.
Yeah.
So my next
It's been
question
great.
for you is: do you have a favorite gaming genre?
Oh, that's hard.
Okay.
I guess once again it sounds very vague, but yes and no, because my
Mhm.
taste kind of changes over time. Like there was a time that I was just all up in like FPS, shooter games.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, my least favorite genre is platformers, surprisingly. Not because
Oh
they're
wow.
bad, it's just because I'm not great. I'm just not great at it.
Okay.
So that's the reason why. But I guess my favorite genre would be more of, I don't even know how to call it, but it's more open world.
Open
So
world.
more open, yeah, open world
Okay.
games, more like story driven games, like what people like to call it the butterfly effect, where every decision you make is gonna affect your gameplay and how overall the ending of
Like
the
a
game is gonna
Elden
be.
Ring.
Not necessarily like Elden Rings. Like
Okay.
I'm trying to think of an example. Like
God of War.
let me see. I say God of War would be a perfect example for that, but
Okay.
also like Life is Strange would be
Okay.
a good example of like decision based games.
Okay.
Mass Effect is another one that is like your dialogues are highly influenced into the gameplay itself, but
Yeah.
games like that, I just love, like, I'm a sucker for open world games and a good storytelling. So Assassin's Creed, Watch Dogs. That's why I like Resident Evil, not necessarily because it's an open world game. It's pretty linear, but just because of the lore and the story itself. So I play a lot of survival horror games, not necessarily because of the horror factor, but because of the lore and the story itself. Like survival horror games have one of the best storytelling scenarios that exist out there. Like you sit
Okay.
down and play The Evil Within, and I'm not even gonna lie, I shed a tear. I was crying towards the end of The Evil Within too because the
Hey,
story
it be like
is
that.
so good. It's
It
so
do be like
good.
that. I know
So
when
I
the God of War before Ragnarok came out, I shed a tear at the end of that game. I'm like, this man and lost the woman of his life. He with his kid and he's trying to be the best father he could be. And I was like, man,
yeah. When I was
this is
playing
emotional
Spider-Man,
a little bit.
when I that happened to me with when I was playing Spider-Man Miles Morales.
Mhm.
Dude, I cried nonstop. Like I had a moment I had to put the controller down and just like step away because I was so emotional. I was like, wow, like this is something else. So yeah.
Okay.
I it's I like games mainly like that. I think I play games more for the story element than anything else. Like some people like, the gameplay is a major factor. Other people like graphics. For me, it's all about a good story.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good thing. I like story, gameplays. I'm both when it comes to it. But yeah, that's interesting that you said open world. You know what? Open worlds are hit or miss. I guess it depends on the game too, because like I like Last of Us 1 and 2. and Ethan got an award because it's an open world. Some open world games are a bit more
Too
challenging when it
much.
comes down to it, and it's like I know Assassin's Creed, the one that was that not Mirage, but the one that came out a couple, I guess a few games out later.
Are you
Where
talking
he
about
was like in
Odyssey?
the one before Odyssey. That one was really good.
The one Odyssey was
Um,
amazing. Oh, you're talking about the Egypt one?
yeah, yeah, that was really
I
good, but it
forgot.
was challenging, very challenging for
It
open
was.
world. Yeah,
And it felt a little short, in my opinion. I felt like it was a little short compared to other Assassin's Creed games.
yeah, it was. It definitely was. I was like, dang, this it. I'm going around
Yeah.
the game thinking
They
like,
are a hit or miss.
yeah. And then the thing was, it's weird because I'm not usually a completionist when it comes to games. Like I did just about everything. I only had unlocked maybe was it 3 or 4 things I hadn't unlocked. I was like, I'm saying to myself, like, y'all not gonna give us no DLC.
Yeah, it felt it honestly, yeah, with no offense, but that's how it felt. It felt like it was meant to be a DLC, like it
Yeah,
because of how short it was.
yeah,
So it could definitely be a hit or miss.
definitely. So my next question for you is, what are some of your greatest achievements, or just your overall achievements that really made you stand out as a content creator on YouTube?
Whew. So I think that a lot of stuff I'm living it now because
Mm-hmm.
of the how do I say it? Because of putting so much work over the course of the years, like now I'm able to just sit back and enjoy the fruits of my labor.
Okay.
So, for example, being consistent for 4 to 5 years now, a Capcom creator, where I have really good connections with them. And like recently, now, a couple weeks ago, I got sent a Resident Evil 4 collector's edition, which I've been wanting since last year. And Capcom sent me one as a gift. So it's like things I would never expect. Um, just being able to be a part of like Jeff Keighley's Game Awards events where I've been able to host with him. I've been able to be featured for the first time on YouTube's homepage, on YouTube's main channel, as part of the retro gaming
Okay.
content creator space. So that was a really honorable and memorable moment
Yeah.
that, among female content creators in the retro gaming space, that I was one of the few selected to be featured on YouTube's main channel. So that
Okay.
was a huge milestone.
Yeah.
I think one of the other greatest milestones was Walter, who is part of years and years and years of setting like high challenges and records for the arcades back in the day. Our good old Walter.
Excuse
So I
me.
was inducted in the Hall of Fame for retro gaming, and I was presented with an award by Walter himself. So that was a very memorable moment. And I think my biggest achievement now was being able to be invited as a key speaker to a college, and just being able to talk to college students about the positivity of gaming overall, and how to be a positive influence within the gaming space. So I'm really proud of all the achievements here and there I've been able to do. Like I don't
Okay.
really do it for the alls and look at me, these are all the stuff, but it's just really gratifying when people acknowledge and recognize you for all the hard work you've put in over the years.
Okay, yeah, that's that's a good way to go about it. Like all of the achievements that you named, even going to college, talking about gaming. Yeah, that's wow, that's a dope opportunity. Like I ain't never heard nobody going to college like, yeah, talk about gaming at college. That's pretty cool. And also to
Yeah.
be rewarded to be a retro gamer and stuff. So you've kind of set a lane for yourself with YouTube with the retro stuff. So yeah, those are some nice accomplishments that you got there, to be honest. Like, because when I think about it, the content creator lane is big, right? But the thing is, there are a lot of women content creators. Like they think it's just guys. Like it's a lot of women content creators out here. So, and a lot of them do
Yeah.
gaming. From what I see, it's like, man, you got ones that do cozy gaming, you got ones that do retro, you got ones that do horror, you got ones that do a little bit of everything. And it's like, yeah, it's the women content creator lane is growing a lot.
Yeah, it's become pretty saturated almost in a way, and
Yeah.
competitiveness. There's a lot of
Hmm.
competitiveness due to the fact that, unfortunately it is what it is. Gaming has now become mainstream. So I just happened to start at a time where gaming was still fairly new and it wasn't considered mainstream. So by the time it blew up, like I've been already doing content creation for over 7 years. So I've
Okay.
seen so many changes, not only in the content creator space, but I've seen changes, within YouTube as a platform itself,
Yeah.
because like cards and end cards, that's like fairly a new feature nowadays. Like back when I started, there was a thing called annotations, and it was like very basic graphics that you can place on your video, and that would allegedly be your end cards. Like you had to create those things
Wow.
to add them to your video. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's been added over time. Like intro wasn't a thing back in the day. Like now intro is becoming essential, like outros. And so like there's so many stuff I've seen over the years, YouTube evolving, and a lot of like big major problems. Like when I was doing YouTube, it was back in the day when there was agencies, big agencies like Disney and other agencies, where they would network with you. So you had to be part of a network. You had to sign a contract, and they would be like your middleman, and they would feature and all, do all those things for you. And that was way before YouTube was even doing advertisement. They
Oh
even had
wow. Yeah,
advertising.
you've
Yeah.
been around for a long time. I was like, you
Yeah.
said annotations. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, it's I've seen quite a bit. So
Yeah.
it's really incredible how they've grown over time as a platform, and now they became a mainstream, very mainstream as a platform, because like let's face it, the grand majority of people watch YouTube nowadays as their main source of entertainment.
Yeah.
um so a lot has evolved, and then as a content creator, like my biggest challenge is, how do I stay relevant? How do I always keep my content fresh, where I can always like invite people to come back, because I always have something different, something new to offer, and not kind of fall out, from what's
Okay.
going on right now.
Yeah, because even with the community getting bigger, there are challenges, the good and the bad. What was I gonna ask? So, how do you feel about the YouTube community overall? Have you seen a lot of love, or just in general, just people that don't really care for the content you're putting out, or both?
I mean, I've seen it all. I've seen the good. I've seen the bad. I've seen people that have been there half of my journey and then they're gone. Like you don't know how many content creators I've seen start, both females and males, that no longer exist nowadays. That they've tried, but I guess halfway through their journey they figured out that it was not for them, or it's too hard, or whatever reasons it may be, and they just stop doing it. So I've seen a lot of those things, over the course of the years. So I feel like community is it just depends on what you make out of it, is what I tell people. Like instead of just focusing on, oh, gaming is toxic, gaming this, gaming that, people, I say like sometimes you focus too much on the bad side of gaming, but you forget like you're still a person that can influence and make an impact within the gaming community. So
Yeah.
the challenge as a content creator is like, how do I step out and be a positive influence and a person, a role model, that people can feel inspired and want to follow me, because I'm doing something different and not more of the same old that everybody's doing nowadays. So in my case, I always wanted to stand out for my knowledge, for good entertainment, good content. It wasn't about standing out by appearances, or notice me by my looks and blah blah blah, as some females do. I want it more so like being able to create content where little girls can sit down and watch it and be like, wow, I want to be like her when I grow up. I want to be just like her, because if she's able to make it out there as a content creator, then I want to be able to do the same things they're able to do as well. And luckily I have those. I have a lot of dads that sit with their daughters and watch my content with them, because they've personally DM'd me and have told me that I've been a positive influence to their daughters and to their family, and that they love the fact that they can point out to a female content creator and show it to their daughters of what they want their daughters to be in the future. So I see it more so like, I'm not just trying to follow the trend, I'm trying to build a legacy. So I'm trying to build a legacy that I can leave behind, for future generations.
Okay. That's a good answer. Yeah, I know what you mean. Some content creators quit. I've seen it too, where people quit, give up. There was this one person in general that I was trying to help at some point, and then I started to see that they were only just self-absorbed, and I had to really let them go, because it was like, well, you said you wanted a critique of what you should do to change your channel, and you're not taking the critique at all. I can't force you to take the critique. I mean, you asked my honest opinion, and then you try to help other people. Like, there was a content creator I was trying to help a while back that I met at a convention, and that didn't work out. I started to see that they were trying to be the next me, and it's like, man, this is not gonna work. So
Well,
yeah,
you
you
don't know how
see,
many people I've seen. I've seen it all. I've seen people have tried to copy my content. I've seen people have tried to copy me, and that's great. I'm glad I'm able to inspire them. But
yeah,
the truth is, there's only one me. So, like, at the end of the day, you have to find yourself and see like what makes you unique, instead of just trying to use a cookie cutter and just trying to copy other people, because the fact is you're
yeah,
not them.
right,
So you're not going to have that same amount of influence, because there's so many factors that come into play of why that content creator was successful. So I feel like a lot of people need to stop doing like cookie cutter content and need to really have like a deep dive of, this is who I am, this is what I want, what can I do that's different from what everybody else is doing.
yeah. That's true. You have to be unique with it. And that's why I changed my actual content creator name, because the old one was a little bit harder for people to grasp the concept behind. And once I came out with Ill Blurmatic, people kind of got it. It's like, hey, this is a blurred content creator, Ill Blurred music. If you think about Illmatic, and people gravitated towards it, it seemed like I got better reception with the new name change versus the old one. The old one I shared before with someone else that what I never knew or anything, and then the name before that just wasn't working. I was like, yeah, I got to come with something different.
Yeah.
Yes.
And hey, sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you got to do rebranding, because sometimes you just grow old out of certain things, and it just doesn't reflect what you want.
Yeah.
And rebranding is a good thing sometimes, as long as
Yeah.
you kind of stick to the vision that you have for your channel.
Yeah, because it was hard. Because I honestly said, man, I don't want to change it, but then I'm like, this is not working for me. So it was like I had a real moment. I had to figure out, like, well, do I really want to still use the old name? People couldn't pronounce it. People were like saying, what does the abbreviation mean? I'm like, look, I'm telling you what the abbreviation means, and they're still like, so yeah, sometimes you have to make difficult choices, and be willing to be open to evolve. So that's definitely true for sure. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
definitely. I feel like if anything I were to share, I feel like social media at a fault has made people try to rush through their goals and milestones, because it's become a comparison game. And I
Hmm.
feel like comparison is the thief of happiness. Like, you should run at your own pace, in your own lane, and stop trying to compare yourself to others because you feel like you're falling behind. Because regardless if you rush through it or not, you're still going to reach your goals. It's just how you want to get there is the question.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely, Zap Crystal. That's true. So my next question is gonna be about directing. I see you are in the director seat now. um, Do you have any did you go to school for directing, or was this just a hobby that you kind of got into?
I have not gone to school for directing. This has been everything pretty much self-taught.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, this has been a very new thing for me right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, any directors that you looked at their work and say, you know what, I want to try this out when it comes to directing, whether it's video games, movies, TV shows, or
Honestly, directors like in general in the filming universe, no. But some
okay,
people that I look up to that have actually studied filmmaking and stuff like that. For example, one of my favorite content creators, who I'm a good friend of him, and he's been on my channel before. His name is Rerez,
okay,
and Rerez and his wife, like his wife writes the scripts for him, and like he's actually been involved in like video production and stuff, so he has experience doing it. So
okay,
just by sitting down and like analyzing and becoming a student of YouTube, like I like to say, I've been able to like learn a lot from them of, you know, how they frame and how they use certain angles to tell a story, or, you know, the importance of lighting or the importance of like emotions, and just trying to carry out a message through a video is something that I like to study a lot, and I learn from different people, and then I always ask myself towards the end, okay, why did you enjoy it? If you were to implement this, how would you do it, but in your style? Like, how would you make it like Zap would do it? And that's how I like get creative with my ideas.
okay. Yeah, because I often wonder, I said, man, like I said, wow, she does the content creating. I said, she's directing, doing music. I was like, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
it's funny how it started, because I've always told TJ, which a lot of people know by Master Sword Music,
right.
that I've always loved the idea of being able to direct. Like, I love filmmaking. I'm very passionate about videography. And
Okay.
one of my major challenges and goals is getting better at storytelling, and how to tell a story in a video without even me being involved, and just using certain elements that when people see it, it'll like trigger an emotion or trigger a memory, or help them understand where the narrative is going. So like,
Okay.
let's face it, not a lot of people know how to do that. It's kind of like an art itself.
Okay.
And when he was working on the album of All About You, I told him I wanted to do this as a director. Like, I wanted to do something that nobody has done, and pretty much just do like a short film, a short movie, and tell a story through music videos.
Okay.
You know, of course, some people have done it now. Like The Weeknd, for example, is one artist that is really good at telling a story and have like almost like a mini movie
Yeah.
through his
Yeah. The
music.
weekend. Yeah.
And and I really like how they did it. But of course he has a crew, so that's easier for him. But
Right.
it's more challenging when you're the one that's doing everything. Once again, you're like a one-man team. But it's just been a very interesting process, because I feel like by helping him and creating this vision, it has
Hmm.
helped me stay creative and be more playful with my own content as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's great that you're self-taught. Like a lot of people don't value the idea or the concept of teaching themselves how to do things. And that's really great that you have said, you know what, I have a passion for wanting to do filming. Let me see if I could try this out, and working with Master Sword with his content for All About You for the music and stuff. Yeah, that's really dope. Cause like I said, some people they like, you know, they have the idea of wanting to do it, but then they're like, oh no, I can't do it. They have like this superficial expectation of why they can't do these things. It's like, well, just give it a shot. Things take time for it to develop or to grow. but you may not knock it out the park the first time.
Oh no, yeah. And fun fact, a lot of people don't know this about me, but my first like filmmaking project was a couple
Hmm.
years ago. I was hit up by Terramana, and
Okay.
Terramana, which is a tequila that The Rock has created, sent me a bottle, and they asked me to create an ad for the beverage, for the alcoholic drink. And I was like, yeah. So it was literally my first project as a director, where I created a commercial ad to promote their drink. So yeah,
Okay.
that was very challenging, because one thing is like sitting in front of a camera and doing your one take, where you usually talk in front of the camera, and you have your b-rolls and blah blah blah. But when you're doing an ad, or you're doing a like a music video, or something that's very storytelling driven, it's very different. It's very
Yeah.
different the way you create a video for it.
Yeah, because it's a commercial. Yes, it's a bit of a difference. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, that's
Yeah, because
dope.
like
That
for that,
yeah,
sorry, for that, it was difficult, because it's not a person, it's a product. So like that's already the first challenge. Like, how do you tell a story with a product, and how do you make this appealing, so when somebody finishes the ad, they actually want to consume this product. So it takes a lot of thinking.
yeah. When you think about it, because you see it on the commercial, and you're like, how do they make it so appealing? Where it's like, oh, I'm thirsty for it, or I'm hungry for it, and it's always just the
Yeah.
visual presentation, the lighting, and all these different things, and just the colors, and you're just like, oh, this is why I want this. I think that's one thing with video games I got back in the day. You saw the commercials. Like I remember the Pokemon commercial, and it always made me wonder, like, is these Pokemon gonna really come? Because I'm a kid. And I'm like, yeah. But the commercial presented it so well. You're thinking like, oh, this is gonna happen when I get the game, and all these Pokemon gonna come.
Yeah, yeah, right. Just like, yeah, and you notice it's like it's all about marketing. Like even when you go to a toy store, like you see how the way they package the toy, like it looks really appealing. Like it really makes you feel like, oh yeah, it's gonna look beautiful. But once you remove all that plastic out of the box and you see the final product, you're like, nah, this doesn't look as cool as it looked as when it was packaged. But that's how they get you. That's how they get
Yeah,
you.
it's just like looking at a Big Mac on a commercial. Oh, this ain't
Yeah,
what it look like.
this don't look like. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that reminds me of the Sigmund Freud nephew's documentary. I think it's The Science of Self. If you ever get a chance, check it out. It's a long documentary. It's like 3 hours on YouTube, but it talks about like how people when they buy stuff based on appeal, like the color, the clothing, all these different things. I'm like, man, this guy was ahead of his time when it
Yeah,
came to advertising. Yeah,
it's crazy. I feel like it's more and YouTube is the same way. It's very psychological. Like you have to do the right stuff to trigger certain things, and once you're triggered, like you just react to it.
yeah. Definitely true. Definitely. Yeah. I was like, man, yeah, advertising is definitely become a bigger lane in YouTube. Like I said, you see a lot of different ads and just like, wow, like, oh, it's an ad on this, you may like this. It's like, okay.
Yeah, it's just and then people don't really think about it, but even as a content creator, like you're constantly marketing yourself and putting yourself out there. So the way you're representing yourself is so important too, to let the person decide at the end of the day if they want to watch you or not. So
Yeah,
you're constantly having to market yourself. So how are you going to do that? Marketing is just so important, because it can make or break your brand.
yeah, that's true. Definitely. Yeah, can either help it or not help it at all. That's definitely true. Master Sir, amazing job, love. Yep.
Thank you,
So
thank you, thank
my next question I wanted to ask is have you thought about doing like since you do directing, have you ever thought about doing like maybe getting into documentaries or just like something with your channel where you do video games? There's a documentary learning about stuff or not really?
I have. It's just so it's a lot of work. It's a lot
Okay.
of work. It's like one of those big projects that you can't just do in 2 weeks and put out there.
Okay.
It's probably like what I call once in a blue moon, that if I have the time, I would like to sit down. I've been part of other people's projects,
Okay.
but it's, I don't know, it's more experimentational than anything else right now. Like if you gave me the opportunity of going to college and studying for something, I would actually consider going back to college and probably doing a degree in post production or filmmaking, because that's how much I like it.
Okay.
Um, but the majority of the time, I think that's mainly the reason why I like directing, because I get to experiment. So I get to see if it works or it doesn't work. So like for example, with the album, it's very experimenting
Yeah.
and trying out different um, angles, trying out different frames, trying props and elements that'll tell the story, certain facial expressions, certain even like places. Like for the album, it's real life. It's based on a true story. So
Right.
obviously
Excuse me.
I'm sitting in a place where I'm thinking about, okay, how can I take these real life events that actually happened, but take it from to a place where it's more like a metaphor. So people can still, when they see something, they'll be like, oh, okay, it's not actually happening at that moment, but I get where they're going with this. Like I know
Okay.
exactly what they're trying to say. So that has been the biggest challenge for me. I'm really liking the feedback that people are giving me right now, because it's really funny when you have an idea. Like I don't know how to explain it, but in a director's mind, like I listen to a song or listen to the idea and I pick up a vibe, and from there I get all these ideas. Bam, 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 bam. And like in
Right.
5 minutes I already know what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very meticulous on how I like to like execute uh the thing, so that when it comes together, it tells the story the way I wanted it to be. So it's really cool when you see people that just is, an average viewer, they're just coming to watch the video, and you see their reaction and how they're getting it.
Okay.
And then they're actually like pinpointing and telling you back, like, I like this, I like that, or this was really cool what you did with this video. And I start taking notes, because then I know, like, okay, for my next video, I can probably change this, or I can tweak this,
Tweak it.
or,
Okay.
people got it.
Happy.
Yeah. And so, yeah.
Okay, happy Sunday, Nia. Thanks. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because like you said, when you're in the director seat, you can see kind of like the different things that you want to work on, what you could tweak, what you could adjust, and everything. And yeah, I mean, like I said, all about you. Like I said, you could tell it was a story. I didn't know that Bayonetta was a dream sequence. I thought that was cool that Master Sword had mentioned that. I was like, oh, it's a dream sequence. I said, okay. And then I figured out the other part of the story. I was like, man, this is cool, man. So that's why, like, when I look at stuff, because they always say art imitates reality. You look at stuff, whether it's anime, music videos, in most cases, they tell a story. You know what I'm saying? So when you're looking at it, you're like, oh, I noticed this, I noticed that. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you have to go back and watch stuff over again to kind of understand the concept behind it. It's like, oh, this is why this took place. This is the other thing that I didn't expect. And you kind of get the story by going to rewatch it or just to observe it, you know what I'm saying, being the viewer. So yeah, that's great that people have really
Yeah.
been coming back, giving you dope reception on it and everything. And you may never know, you might be doing other people's directing.
I've actually been talking like behind the scenes with
Mhm.
TJ and telling him how I would maybe one of these days aspire in like editing for other people, just becoming an editor, or like directing projects and stuff like that. Like I think I
Mhm.
have more enjoyment now that I've kind of done what I've wanted for myself. So
Okay.
I have like I get more joy of just doing stuff that I don't typically have the opportunity of doing on a day-to-day basis.
Okay.
So I think that's what makes it like more fun for me, because I get to do things that are just different.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, like I said, that's definitely dope that you're getting positive feedback and stuff like that. My next question for you, and this is interesting because I'm not sure how you're gonna respond to it. But what is your Mount Rushmore of directors, like directors that you really enjoy?
Steven Spielberg obviously is one of those like iconic people that I'm like, you can't go wrong with a Steven Spielberg's film. Like I really
Okay.
do enjoy all of his. He's very he's very what I aspire to be when it comes to storytelling. Like when it
Okay.
comes to story, that man just, and he has a style. That's the
He
thing.
does.
Like you can't,
Yeah.
you don't even see his name in the credits, but just by sitting down and watching the film, you already know it's a Stevens film.
Yeah, you
So,
can. Yeah, that's weird that his films are like that. I wasn't the only one thinking this. That's crazy.
yeah, and if you come to think about it, I think that's what makes people stand out as content creators too. Like if you've been watching someone for a very long time, you'll start noticing that that person has a style. So
Yeah.
you'll kind of get used to like a certain format or a certain way they do their videos, or even the way they live stream or whatever they do. Like you can't avoid it. We're creatures of habit. So it's
Yeah.
typical that we're gonna create a style. So yeah, if anybody I would say that stands out there for me, would be Steven Spielberg. Yeah.
No other directors? No.
I would say Tim Burton. I don't know if I would consider him necessarily as a director, but Tim Burton's like
Okay.
style of eerie and weird out of the blue movies like
Yeah.
is just really iconic. Like he leaves an impression in you, and that's what I like too. And if anything, I take out of it is like impressions.
Yeah. Tim.
And then on a segue, not really a uh-huh.
Yeah, Tim Burton. I like that what he did with the older Batman films with Michael Keaton. They had a very gritty darkness to them, which I thought was really kind of cool. I was like, man, it's like it's dark, but it's not super dark. Like with the first Batman movie with Jack Nicholson, then the one with Danny DeVito.
Yes.
Yeah, he's got his own
It's
style
very it's very psychological if you think
yeah,
about it. Like it's
yeah,
like eerie, but not totally there, not totally borderline.
right.
Yeah, I agree. The Nightmare Before
Yeah, I remember
Christmas,
Before Christmas.
obviously.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. Yeah.
Um, and then on a segue, is he's not necessarily a director, he's an actor, but Johnny Depp is one of the guys that I've like highly admired over
Okay.
time because I love like Edward, what's it called? Edward Scissorhands, I think it's
Yeah, Edward
his first
Scissorhands. Yeah.
movie when he debuted it.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since I love it. I like the fact that he does these unconventional, non-traditional characters and gives them life. Like he gives them such a personality that they're so memorable. Like you can't really forget who they are.
Yeah.
And I really like it because you have like your typical like action guy, you have your comedy,
Yeah.
but he's like he don't fit in a box. He don't fit
Yeah,
in a
he doesn't.
specific
You're
box. He's
right.
just
Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, Johnny Depp
he's,
doesn't.
he's
Yeah.
just whatever he is, you know?
Yeah. But you're right. He does leave a lasting impression on the roles that he's done. I think every single Johnny Depp movie I've seen, he's left a lasting impression on the characters. It's like, man, it's like, wow, what has he not done that's impressive? You're like,
Yeah, and I love like I've heard his interviews. Like he's a very interesting guy that like if I would have a cup of coffee with him because I like to hear like his thinking process. Like he'll tell you like he'll just kind of immerse in a way where he forgets that he's in the real world, and it's almost like he's listening to this character and what the character wants to be, and then he just goes from there and gives the character life. So it's just really interesting the way he does things, which is so non-traditional to what other actors and actresses do for a living. So just small inspirations here and there I take from different people, and I
okay,
kind of like merge it to like my own thing.
okay, that's interesting. Tim Burton, you said Steven Spielberg. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're
Yeah.
definitely those are some good choices. Definitely. I mean, I gotta say, even with the Tom Cruise movie that he did, Steven Spielberg, that was really good. The sci-fi movie, was it Days of Tomorrow?
I
I
think it
think.
was that. Like, I forgot the name because if
Yeah.
anything, I'm bad with names, y'all.
Well, I know it was a
It
sci-fi
takes me a
movie.
minute.
Yeah, and I was like, man, this is really good with Tom Cruise. Like when I seen that they were working together, I'm like, this is an odd pairing, but it could work.
Yeah, when you have I love those odd pairings too, because you never know what to expect from it. Like it could be a
Yeah.
hit or miss, but then when it's a success, you're like, wow, this is
Okay.
pretty cool.
Yeah, that's true. So, my next question I wanted to ask is, I know you're into music. Have you ever done any like talent shows for music, or either been on American Idol, anything like that with music, or not really?
Not like big major names, but yes and no, because like
Okay.
I said, I grew up in a family of musicians. So my dad is a guitarist. He's one of
Okay.
like a renowned guitarist and back in where we live. He's been in like a lot of renowned artists, concerts like Ricky Martin,
Okay.
you name it, he's been out there for a while.
Okay.
Um, and just like growing in a family of musicians, I've always been exposed to music. So I mean, it is what it is.
Hmm.
And everybody in my family does something. My mom sings. My brother plays the guitar. He'll play the drums. My dad is he has his own studio. So I would see
Right.
people constantly coming in to record for their next albums. And sometimes I would just sit there just to see my dad working in real time and just soaking it all in. And I just started singing at a very young age. I started, writing my own songs. My dad would make my own tracks for my talent shows.
Okay.
During that time, I was a big like Britney Spears fan and
Okay.
Christina Aguilera, you name it, all your 90s idols. So I would be like, I'd be like, Dad, I think I could sing Genie in the Bottle, and Dad would make me my own track of it. And I would go to a talent show and just sing my heart out and have fun. And
Okay.
luckily, a lot of people don't know about this, but when I was 17 years old, I recorded my very first album with my dad.
Okay.
I wrote all the songs to my own album, and my dad was the one who produced the album for me.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've done that before. I've gone to TV shows to promote my albums because back in the day it was more traditional. Like we didn't really have the internet and stuff to promote your music, so you kind of had to
Yeah.
do like your in-person events, or if you were invited as to a TV show, that's where you would talk about your album and stuff. Radio
Okay.
shows, you name it. So I did
Right.
all those things with my dad. And I did it at a very young age. Like I was only 18 when I started doing it. So a lot of mistakes were done down the road
Hmm.
because I was young, I didn't
Right.
know everything. But if anything, music just kind of defined my life. It just has always been there for me.
Okay.
Um, but there came a time that I was kind of disappointed because I really at first was aspiring to pursue a musical career. Then
Okay.
I was like, no, you know what? This is not for me. I should just stick to something else, which I did. I went to college and did an education degree in early
Right.
childhood development.
Okay.
And I just was stuck in a school for 15 years working. And you know what I mean? I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I got it. I stick to real life, girl. Forget about the music. This is probably not for you.
Yeah.
Uh, but then it's just funny how once you have grown in a family of musicians, like you can't really leave it behind. Like that's not something you could just shake it off.
Okay.
Because then later on, TJ and I, even way before we were, husband and wife, we've always been good friends. So
Right.
I've always had a big fan of his music and always was helping him, like from content creator to content creator.
Okay.
And one day it just slipped and I accidentally said I used to sing, and TJ of course caught it, and he's like, oh, you meaning to tell me that you sing and you haven't told me? He's like, I'm offended. And
Yeah.
God, I was nervous because I was like, oh shoot. Now I gotta show him that I actually sing, and I shared a track with him. I went MIA. I tried to ignore him because I was nervous.
Ah!
That's how he was gonna react. And after he heard it, he was like, "Now I need you on an album with me because you should really."
Yeah, so you let the cat out the
Oh,
bag. You was like, "Oh, I do sing." He's like, "Wait a minute."
oh, he's like, "The music bug bit you now. Now you can't go away." And I'm like, "Oh, Jesus,
Yeah.
here we
Well,
go."
you know
So,
what? When you think about people coming from a musical family, like how TJ and you come from a musical family, it's like with Michael Jackson. He came from a family of musicians. Everybody played something or did something with musically. So yeah, it's like you going back into it and kind of understanding, like maybe this is my second passion. Is that what it is? Yeah.
I really feel like it always been. I just haven't like I never really considered myself like, oh, this is my one thing. I'm just gonna fully immerse into it because I'm a woman of many hobbies and many passions. So it's kind of hard for
Yeah.
me. Um, but like music is like the core of what connects me to my family. And I've always told him that when I met him, he reminded me of home because that's what I associate my home with. I associate it with my family, with seeing my dad in the studio and just bringing to life, concepts that people had and bringing good music to the world. So,
Right.
I told him that I was taking this because fun fact, the first track I worked with him was Unpacking,
Okay.
and Unpacking was actually my idea. Like I came up with the name of the track because it was based on a game that I was playing during that time that's called
Okay.
Unpacking. And I was telling him that that was my moment of coming back to the music scene, and I was taking it as a therapy session because I had a lot of wounds without going too much into details that
Okay.
were a product of the music industry, and
Hmm.
I needed to like heal from it.
Right.
So that song was pretty much just me kind of just showing to the world like I'm raw, I'm stepping back into it, and I'm just trying to heal and come back into the music scene.
Okay. So my next
So yeah.
question I wanted to ask is, I know that all about you was TJ's perspective. What is your perspective is going to be a little bit different from me? Not giving too much details. I know you don't want to say too much about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one thing I will spoil is the name of the album. So,
Okay.
I mean, hold up, hold up. Let me before I say that. Do I have permission to spoil the name of the album? Do I or do I not? Do I or do I not? Do I have permission to spoil the name of the album?
Go for it.
All right, here we go.
Okay.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
It's all good.
So the name of my album is called Our Love Journey.
Okay.
So just to give a little bit more context of what the album is, even though he keeps saying it's a sequel to All About You, it is and it's not.
Okay.
The reason why it's called Our Love Journey is because the album is going to explain my perspective and my side of how, my relationship with my now husband came to be. But
Okay.
it's also about a story about self-healing, self-love, my own self journey of healing from past trauma and, getting out of toxic relationships that I
Okay.
was in. So it's more so not only about the relationship part, but
Hmm.
me as a whole, as a human being, and how much I've grown and healed from it.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's a different approach to it, a different take on it. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So that's why I didn't want to necessarily call it like All About You too, because I'm like, and I feel like people were getting like a kind of like an idea of what they thought it was, but it's so much more.
Yeah.
It's like just like if you think this album is deep, wait till you jump into my album. It's like jumping into a rabbit hole, and you're
Oh
like,
wow.
"Holy crap! I'm going to Alice in Wonderland, and I don't know what to expect." Yeah, it's one of those trips. It's a Tim
Okay.
Burton film. Take it like that.
Okay. So any influences maybe from video games or like maybe Disney or anything like that to your album, or not really?
So, actually, mine, I even though I incorporated some things that are gaming related, it's more so I took like influence of music that I grew up with,
Okay.
music that has like impacted me, that came from like close to my family. So you might hear like a little bit of house, a little bit of synthwave, a little bit of, just very different
Okay.
musical genres that are kind of like gonna branch out. Like you're basically, when you listen to this album, you're gonna get a feel of what I'm into when it comes to listening to music.
Okay, I
So,
like the
but of course,
diversity. You said house music. You said sync. Wow, this is gonna be interesting. Wow. I'm kind of
yeah,
glad that you didn't do All About You Part 2. That'd have been weird. Like
yeah, and it's gonna still tell a story, like I said, from my perspective, because like I like to say to people, you can't just hear one side of the story. You got to hear both sides,
yeah,
to get the full picture.
right.
But it goes beyond that point. It's like I said, it's a self-healing journey. So you're gonna be able to feel everything I was going through and how I've healed over time and become whole as a person.
Okay. Any surprise features that you have planned for it, or just the Master Sword
Well,
family?
surprisingly, from what I can share, there is one feature. Obviously, my husband is one.
Okay.
But I wanted this album to not be influenced by anyone else. Why?
Okay.
Because like I explained, it's more so like a diary where I'm expressing everything I'm feeling. So it has to make sense, it has to come directly from me. So if anything, people are going to be surprised because you're going to hear a lot of me. Like there might be tracks where it's just me and nobody else on it.
Okay.
But it is necessary, because in order to understand the story or what I'm trying to explain in the song, like
Hmm.
it wouldn't make sense if somebody else was trying to sing it on my behalf, or
Okay.
trying to rap about it. So it's
Okay.
more personal.
Okay. Yeah, Master Sarah says she really pushed me with the production on this one. Okay, bro. I look forward to it, man. See where you've grown with
Yeah.
your production, man. This man is
The only thing I will
super self.
spoil, and I don't know if I have permission, but screw it. I am going to say it anyways. I'm sorry in
Okay.
advance. um, but I did set up a challenge for him, not only in the production, like this, everything I've made him do on this album is things that are out of the blue, things that he's not used to doing. Like it's so
Okay.
out of his field.
Okay.
But also when it comes to the videos, like just the way I was the director for his album, he's going to be doing for the very first time the role of being a director for my
Okay.
album. Like I am not going to do anything when it comes to the visuals. He's actually going to be
Okay.
doing everything for me.
Yeah.
But it's because I told him, I was like, I want to see what you would do. Like I know what I would do, but
Right.
it's nice to see what somebody else would do with your
Yeah.
project. So I'm kind of giving somebody the opportunity of like delegating that role
Yeah.
and see how like they're going to interpret it.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Like I said, it seems like you guys have the teamwork dynamics down pat. He's doing the directing. You're gonna see his perspective as a director, the production. He's mainly on the album, and you have solo tracks on the album. So I think that's cool that you didn't have. He's the only feature. You know what I'm saying? Because
Well,
sometimes,
I'll take this back. I forgot about this. You said features, but another person that I do have to give a shout out. It's not necessarily like singing or rapping, but he's been part of like the production, and
Okay.
he is actually part of the MSM family as Katetsu. So Katetsu
Okay.
has also worked on tracks for my album. I totally forgot. Sorry, little bro.
Okay.
But he's also played a major role when it comes to the production of the album.
Okay. So 2 producers. Okay, that's what's up. Yeah. So yeah, this is gonna be interesting. Listen, I'll tell you that. I was like, man, you said house music. I'm like, yeah. And then
Yeah, it's
familiar
so
music that you grew up on too. So yeah, that's different. You know what I'm saying? Pushing the envelope. Like I said, you guys seem to got the energy down pat, the chemistry and putting it together. So yeah, that's amazing.
yeah, I can't wait to talk about it more because like I feel like I need a proper segment to like once the album comes out, there's going to be a lot of stuff I know people are not going to understand straight off the bat. So it's just going to be like one of those things that I'm going to have to sit down and start breaking down like a lyrical like kind of like these lyrical sessions where you like break down lyrics and
Yeah, like
kind of explain
like a rap genius.
kind of like that, just to
Yeah.
like help people understand, like give them more context and the background of okay, this is what this song is about, and this is where
Okay.
I'm coming from, and and stuff like that.
Okay. So do you have any trailers coming out for it or for the album? Like a promo trailer?
That the director over here will have something planned for it eventually, because like I said, I am not touching visuals at all.
Any trailers,
these
bro?
schematics, he will be in charge of the schematics when it comes to visuals.
Yeah. So yeah, that's
I
cool though.
already
So
did
any
my part.
trailers coming, bro? Yeah.
Director, do we have any
I was saying any trailers coming, bro?
There is towards the end of the year, there is going to be a sneak peek because not only is Zap Crystal going to be dropping an album,
Right.
but my boy Katetsu,
Okay.
VG, basically everybody in the Master Sword Music family is going to be dropping their own projects.
Okay.
So towards the end of the year, there is going to be a sneak peek of everything that we got coming for 2024.
Okay,
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, that's
Gonna be
great,
pretty
man. All right, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now an intermission.
Yeah, because nowadays people do music and they have like little trailers or sneak peeks, and you're like, oh, okay, this is what the album's going for, or
Yeah.
just a sneak peek of what's coming. And you're like, oh, okay.
I don't think people understand how busy I really am, because like I have my own channel where I run my content for it. I have the podcast now that I do content for it. I'm
Right.
helping him with his projects, and then I'm doing also these other side projects. So it adds up once you know
It does. You seem like you're pretty productive too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's great. So
It's
the next question I was gonna ask, how did the reset in Zap come about? Like, was that always a thing that you wanted to do, or something that was on the back burner?
Yeah, it's been a project of over 2 years that I've been wanting to do.
Okay.
I just been lacking of a lot of skills that I personally don't know. Like I didn't know how to build a website. I don't know, when it comes to audio engineering, that's not my forte. So there was a lot of stuff that kind of hold me back from wanting to do a podcast. And
Okay.
podcast is fairly new for me. Obviously, I've never been in that world. So podcasting is very different from video content creation, period.
Right.
There's just a lot of stuff that goes into it. So I kind of, left it in the back burner, would talk about it from time to time with my viewers and telling them how much I would want to do something, but the time wasn't right because I didn't know what to do, where I wanted to go with it. Recently, in the past year, I went through a season that, long story short, I was going through a burnout. I lost all sense of clarity, and I had like identity crisis where I didn't know what to do anymore with my channel.
Oh,
and
wow.
I took a break. I took a really long break because
Wow.
I had never taken a break in 7 years as a content creator. So after 7 years, like my community was like, look, take a break. There's nothing wrong with taking a break. You've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
Take all the time you need, to figure things out. Because if I wouldn't taken the break, I got to be completely honest, I probably would have quit it. So I went ahead and took my break and kind of like sat down and had what I told you a while back, just these deep provoking sessions of, okay, what's the vision, the mission of the channel? Do I
Right.
feel the same way about it? Is there any changes that I need to make?
Right.
How do I feel? Am I taking care of myself? Truth is, I wasn't. There was a lot of stuff that were coming into play, like my health and all that. I had to take care of stuff that were going on in real life
Okay.
before I can even do content creation. So in other words, there came a point that so much had changed in the channel that there was things that no longer fitted with my brand.
Okay.
And I needed a totally new space for it. And I had mentioned to Jay, I was like, look, I want to start a podcast because I want to talk about things that are just more than gaming. Like I want to talk about mental health. I want to talk about how to overcome addictions, the pros and cons of being a content creator, because I've done it for so long. Then who better than I to sit down and talk about it, to other people. And just like so many other stuff that I've always been wanting to talk about and be more vulnerable, but I couldn't do it on my main channel, if you know what I mean.
Right.
So I told him, and once he know it, he was like, well, I know how to build websites and I make music. So obviously I know about audio. So if you need an audio engineer, I can step in. And it was never planned immediately off the bat of he's going to do a podcast with me.
Okay.
I just said, I want to do a podcast. Okay.
All right.
And actually, the person that I wanted to bring on board to my podcast at first was my brother. Because he and I, we've done stuff like that in the past. So I was like, that would be cool. Then he and I had a space and, we can talk about it.
Right.
But realistically, like my brother's living such a busy life that I knew that consistency wise, it was going to be a little bit more complicated.
Right.
He's not here living in Texas. He lives in Kansas. So that's another factor that comes into play.
Yeah.
So there was just a lot of complications, if you know what I mean.
Right.
And one day I was like sitting at Crackle Barrel, which I don't know what is up with Crackle Barrel and me, but like ideas just flow.
Okay.
I don't know. I think it's that Southern cookie.
Okay.
But
That's
I'm like
sitting
there and I look I look at Jay and I'm like quiet. And he looks at me dumbfounded. He's like, why are you looking at me like that? And I'm like all nervous. Like he's my husband. Like I shouldn't be nervous, but I'm all nervous. And I'm like, I was just I was just thinking, do you want to do a podcast with me? And he's like, yeah. Why didn't you ask me for? And I was like, you really want to do a podcast with me? Wow, okay.
Oh man.
Oh, it was hilarious. So once he said yeah, then it was just all a matter of coming up with a name. And I was like, okay, so how do I come up with a name that is easy, that people know who I am, but it reflects like this new season in my life? And I started thinking about it and I'm like, well, what is this one word you keep talking about that is like the key word in your life right now? And I said, reset. I've basically have had to reset my entire life to be where I'm at right now. So once you know it, I did the Reset and Zap podcast. And that's how the name came to be. So I like, that's why I always say, oh, and don't forget, always remember to reset and zap for the week, because I always keep reminding people like that's the whole mission and the goal of the podcast. I'm giving you the opportunity to reset, and kind of figure out, okay, this week it kind of went bad, but next week, what are the steps I'm going to do to be where I want to be in the future? So that's kind of how the Reset and Zap podcast came to be.
Okay, that's dope. Yeah, I like the name. The name is unique. It kind of stands out, and like you said, your episodes. Y'all talk about different things, dealing with addiction, healing, all these different things, and I mean, it fits the podcast extremely well. So
Yeah, yeah, it's
yeah,
been a success, and we'll have our lighthearted episodes, but then we'll have those episodes where we're gonna really deep dive and have
yeah,
these serious like heart to heart talks, and that's the ones I enjoy the most because I feel like that's when I can be the most raw and vulnerable and
right,
open to everyone, where they get to see a different side of me that they probably won't see if they were watching a regular Zap Crystal video.
right. Yeah, because it's a different format. Yeah, for sure. So when is season 2 coming out for that?
Well, season 2 is coming out in 2024. Possible
Okay,
dates are January 5th.
okay,
We're already in the process of filming the episodes for season 2.
okay.
That's why I've been kind of on a break. Don't Nobody really notices that I'm on a break because I'm still dropping videos nonstop every week.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
nobody can tell, but yeah, I am. But it's basically it's weird. But basically during this time I took advantage of not having to be like actively on YouTube and
Right.
kind of recording behind the scenes everything that's coming up for next year. And even so more now that I'm, expecting a child, so I kind of have to do it now. But
Right.
but yeah, I'm really excited for season 2. All I'm going to spoil is that I'm definitely planning and bringing special guests. So I'll be having like people jumping on board for season 2 now that I feel a
Okay.
little bit more comfortable. And I also got a lot of feedback based on season 1, so I'm going to do some like slight tweaks here and there for the when it comes to the format of the podcast. So I'm kind of we're always learning. Like I said, we're new to the podcast world, so I don't have everything figured out.
Right.
But as we go, we're doing tweaks and kind of seeing what people are enjoying, and then what people don't enjoy, we just kind of ditch it
Yeah.
and just go from there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I was one that said, man, I hope it's coming in January. I said that to myself. I was like, man, I like this. I was like, I wonder if it's coming
Yeah.
in January.
Yeah, I wanted to put a date because if I don't put a deadline in my case, I don't want to say I'm lazy, but you'll tend to be like, oh, I got time. I'll know whenever I can. And I need a deadline. I'll be like, okay, girl, you just need to do it. Okay, period. You ain't got time. Like, just do it. So
Well,
yeah,
that's
that's
a
where
good
we're at.
thing. Yes. Yeah. So not a long wait. So that's kind of a good thing. Yeah, definitely. That's that's what's up. Yeah, man. Yeah, podcasting is definitely different, or segments. Because it's like you're giving a little bit more of yourself out there. Because I noticed that with me with Goddess with the Pen, we do these pop culture episodes, and people are like, whoa. Some of the topics are kind
Yeah.
of, yeah.
And you need things like that because I feel like there's an audience for everyone. So like
Yeah.
for me, I kind of do enjoy long episodes because while I'm cleaning the house or on my way to do my workout, or
Right.
whatever it is, you got time. So you'll just put something and listen to it while you're doing whatever you're doing. And I just feel like there's a season for it
Yeah.
too. So maybe I'm just in the season where I enjoy it more. So yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, that's what's up though. Yeah, I got a season 2 coming, but it's not until this year.
Yeah,
For
no,
pop culture.
I actually I knew it was going to do well, but I didn't think it was gonna do as well as it's been doing this year.
Yeah.
Like season 1 just blew up. Like it came to the point that I which I don't know if you're aware of that, but I did drop a full album for the Recent and Zap podcast, which is nothing but the instrumentals, and
Oh
it's
wow.
all the tracks of all the segments of the podcast.
Oh
So if you
wow.
enjoyed listening to the music of the podcast, there's an album where you're not going to hear us talk. All you're going to do is just listen to the music. So I actually
Wow.
dropped an album for it too.
Okay, you out here hustling. I see you. I
Yeah,
said, dang.
and It really was because everybody just loves the music. Everybody keep pointing it out and they would be singing the intro. Like I'd be live streaming, everybody's like, I just want to reset, reset. I'm like, okay, all right, you guys won.
But that's great that you have the music. It seems like people, people either it's the imagery or the music when it comes to podcasts. Some people it's the music, some people it's more the imagery and the delivery. So yeah, that's great that you decide to say, hey, we're gonna drop all the sounds from it, and that's like wow.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
been
that's
really cool.
yeah, that's a really cool feat.
Yeah. So
So
I've
my
been
next
doing like
question
a lot
for
of new
you,
stuff.
when it comes to YouTube, when was the moment that you realized that maybe I should monetize my channel? Like, was there like a defining moment or something where you say, you know what, I can monetize this?
Um, it was probably like 2 years ago.
2 years ago? Okay.
Well, fun fact, I had been monetized.
Okay.
I was monetized years ago, like way back
Okay.
in 2012. Yeah.
Okay.
But then after the whole incident about the networking scam and YouTube having to introduce advertisement,
Hmm.
um, I was removed from the partnership. So they had removed all content creators from the program. So I was in the battle of reapplying again for a partnership. So this is my second time being monetized.
Okay.
Of course, it's not the idea that people think that once you become monetized, you're rich and you made it and you can live off full time of it. No, it's not. It's like I make barely pennies, nickels, and dimes out of what I make on YouTube. So it's definitely not my main source of income.
Okay.
So what I've done more so to compensate for it is I diversify my streams of income. So, when I live stream, the money I make out of advertisement, that's one way. My merchandising, any brand deals I do, sponsorships, public engagement speaking. So when you add all that up, it's called income stacking. So
Okay.
that all adds up into this like one income that more realistically content creators can live off from. But just solely of, you know, being monetized, like it's not enough, really.
I can see why.
The
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
definitely a big arena or maybe necessarily a big lane in it. And some people, like you said, go to clothing, partnerships, sponsorships, and that's good advice. To be honest, for people that want to monetize and say, "Hey, look, it's like, well, it's
yeah.
not what you think it is," but so yeah, that's really good
And
advice, and maybe people will consider this
it's
too.
yeah, it's great. Don't get me wrong. Like monetizing has opened the doors to for my own clothing line because now I have like my own store set up on my channel. So if
Right,
people want to get merchandise, it's easier for them. If they want to, help me, like supporting me, then they have a way to do it through YouTube where they can become super fans and they send you super stickers. So it has their advantages, but it's like what you make out of it.
right.
So I don't solely depend on it. Like I'll have my Patreon, and my Patreon's another source of income. So it's just more so finding out different ways because realistically, like people need to understand equipment and all those things are expenses that you have to make. So I'm number one into you need to spend what you need to spend in order to make it work. So I've never been stingy about how much I spend on my equipment, on tech, props, whatever I need. Because at the end of the day, it's a business. And if you're treating it as a business, then that's going to go
Excuse me.
towards the end, you know,
Hmm.
not wanting to dive too much into it, but when you file taxes, you got to report it as a business. So that all counts as like out of pocket expenses and stuff like that. So you got to self declare all those things if you see it as a business and it's generating money as a business.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely good. Yeah, you definitely have to invest in yourself. Like I said, I I got a whole new light. the desktop computer. It's like, yeah, you definitely have to invest in this stuff. And if not, people are going to see that you're not investing in stuff. Like, okay, he's not trying to try new editing tools. He's not trying to get better lighting. What I'm saying? He's not trying to make intros or outros. And people sometimes just look at it as like, okay, yeah, it's possible. So-and-so did it. But then I also think it depends on the type of content creator, because some people I've seen, they do reaction videos on like celebrities, like a lot of celebrity stuff, and they're making a decent living off of it. And there's some people that are not. Like you said, it just depends on the content when it comes down to it. So yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, I say it just kind of depends how serious you are about it. Like, what are your expectations? If you're planning to like leave your 9-to-5 job to become a full-time content creator, then there's just things you need to consider, like getting your own insurance, getting your own medical, coverage. Like, there's just a lot of stuff that go behind the scenes that people need to prepare for it. And it's not just all like, jazz, camera, spotlight, let's go. There is a lot of stuff that go behind the scenes.
Yeah, you're definitely right about that. I think some people, and I tell people this all the time, because there's some people do it for the wrong reasons for monetizing, and then there's some people that do it for the right reasons. I knew a person that monetized, but the problem was that I saw was like, well, you monetize, but the people that helped you get your channel, like, they paid to get monetized. They had someone that did promo for their channel. It didn't really help them out. I didn't see that big of an impact of them. Like, their content is okay. I'm not saying it's bad, but you paying for it and you can promote it yourself. It's like, you really did that and to monetize? It's like, wow.
Yeah, when I got monetized, it was when I was serious about it. So like 2 years ago, I stopped like trying to figure it out, and I invested for the very first time in my own education. And that's when I signed up for a proper academy. Thanks to my mentors, Roberto Blake and the Think Media team. I actually paid quite a bit in their courses where I did one-on-one coaching. They would audit my channel. They would tell me what I was doing wrong. And I was like a student of YouTube full time during that time, and just tweaking and making changes. And once you know it, because I had invested in my business, that just helped me achieve my goals. So once you know it, I became a partner. I was monetized, and that year I became a Capcom creator, and I was like getting all these opportunities. But like I said, I took the time to invest in myself. So it just kind of depends how serious you are about it or not.
Yeah. When you think about it, it's how serious you are versus how serious you're not. And if you're serious about it, you'll be more dedicated to do something. Some people just don't have the, I guess you could say, ambition or drive for it. And, it's a lot to it, but, you gotta, if that's what you really want to do, you gotta really push forward and figure out ways to make it happen. So, yeah, definitely.
If I were to tell you, I've put more money into it than I've made, because like, not to brag, but like my tuition itself, to know the stuff I know nowadays, I've spent over $1,300 to $1,400 in education by itself, just to learn the platform and how to do YouTube properly. Now, a lot of people hear that and be like, you crazy. But for me, that was not crazy, because I'm serious about it. I love what I'm doing, and I want to take it to the next level. So for me, I didn't see that as, oh my God, I'm just dropping a big chunk of money into this at once. I'm seeing it like I'm making an investment to my future and to what I want to become 5-10 years from now.
Yes, my man Synthesizer said, don't go into looking for handouts. You'll be miserable. Oh, trust me, bro. Yeah. I knew a content creator. Let me tell y'all this story, man. And I've shared it before. There was this super bougie woman content creator that I saw like years ago. and this is like on IG, like way back. And I mean, this is the lesson that I learned from it. She had paid this man to eventually monetize her channel. What happened was her channel wasn't doing good before she monetized. After that, I reached out to her just to, you know what I'm saying? Because I mean, I don't mind connecting with people in the community. And she never responded. So then a couple days later, the same guy was like, yo, I can help your channel. Da, da, da. And I'm looking at this man like, nah, bruh, something happened. She ain't telling me she's eating this most luxurious meals. Like she's painting this fake image of a content creator. And I was just like, why? If this is not what's really working for you, why paint a fake image?
A lot of people are like that. I feel like unfortunately nowadays, social media wise, like people want microwavable results. Like they start and they just want to be PewDiePie. They want to be Markiplier. They want to be like, I hate to say it, but some people want to be like me immediately day one. They're like, oh, I just want to be like her. I want to like this amount of people, but they don't want to put in the work. They don't want to put in the time. They don't know the times I've cried, the times that I've gone through like really dark times that I had nobody there for me. I had to figure things out by myself. Like there's a lot of like I like the slogan that I had a friend of mine say a lot. There's like behind the glory, nobody knows the story. And it's true, you know, because the more successful you are, the more behind the scenes you want to kind of find out like how dark has your life really been? Like what have you been through to be where you're at right now? Because you never know, you know, at the end of the day, these are still human beings that have emotions, have gone through stuff, and you're probably never going to find out half of the stuff these people have been through to be where they are at right now.
Yeah, that's definitely true. We all go through things, whether people are silent about it or not silent about it. Yeah, that's definitely true. I know I struggled at the beginning of my journey with the channel. It was more so, I mean, I was meeting people that were other content creators, but the problem was I wasn't really connecting with them. And it was kind of my fault too, because I was kind of like, I can do this by myself. I don't need to network with nobody. But then eventually I had like a self-realization moment. I said, well, my channel, in order for this to grow, I gotta change. You know what I'm saying? Then another content creator brought it to my attention. She was like, why do you seem so I shouldn't say nonchalant, but I'm pretty sure she probably felt that way. And it's like, dang, I like his channel, and I'm like, well, I'm kind of in a period where I'm trying to revise my channel. I unsub to people that weren't really supportive, that were fake supporting. And then I realized, like, okay, I'm finding genuine people now. First, I wasn't. I was struggling to find that. And sometimes that can be disappointing because sometimes we have these realistic expectations and it doesn't really work out that way. It's like, well, things happen for a reason. Either you adapt or you don't adapt at all, you know? So
yeah, like facts. It's like I always tell people, like, don't underestimate what people have been through, because like you don't know how many times people be like, oh, you must be so lucky, like everything just comes so easily. No, girl, like I've been through things. Like I was in a relationship of 14 years and I had to get out due to domestic violence. Like I tried and remarried and had to get out of it because it was a very toxic environment where my child and I weren't safe. I've been impacted by a hurricane category 5 where I lost everything, my home, all my stuff, and I had to start all over again. Like I've been through a lot of huge life experiences, and even though I haven't shoved it and put it in people's faces, I had to push through it. I had to fight and find myself through the process and build what I now am. So when I hear those comments, I'm like, maybe it might be a compliment, but no, I haven't gotten these things easily. I've worked hard to be where I am right now because it wasn't easy behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah, for sure. The next question I was gonna ask, how do you feel about the new changes with YouTube? Like the recent changes, like with the short lives, the dislikes, and some of the other things that are on the platform?
I like it and I don't like it. There's a lot of stuff I don't like right now as a content creator. I
Hmm.
understand what YouTube is trying to do as a platform. And I mean, at the end of the day, YouTube is a business and they have to make money in order to sustain the amount of videos that are uploaded to the channel. Like, you got to understand that those guys have to have tons and tons of servers to maintain all the entertainment you have on this platform. Like, every 5 minutes, there's videos bombarded by so many content creators, some of them veterans, some of them rookies that are just starting the other day, you know? Um, so I understand what YouTube's trying to do. Like, there's a lot of good things they've done, like lowering the standards and requirements for people to become partners, adding requirements and monetization options for people who just want to do shorts.
Right.
I'm kind of happy with that. The most recent feature that for me benefits me more is I now have a direct platform where I can receive brand deals and sponsorships with other companies. So if other companies want to do brand deals, instead of doing your traditional emails where we're talking off the platform, I can now do it directly through YouTube and then get paid through my Google AdSense. So that's an incredible feature that makes it a lot more easier for us that are
Right.
treating it more, you know, business wise. But there's other things I don't really agree with, like the way they're promoting and tweaking their homepage. Like, now you jump into your app and like 2-3 columns of your YouTube homepage is nothing but shorts. And I understand that they're doing that because they're competing with other platforms like TikTok and, you know, Instagram with their reels. Like, everybody's wanting to jump on this trend of short consumable content. And
Yeah.
I feel like it's good, but it's also affecting us content creators.
Yeah.
Because those that don't want to do shorts, they're kind of forced to do shorts just so they can get their
True.
channel out there.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, like, what type of audience are you trying to create? Because then you have audience that longs for longer watch time sessions, and then you have the audience that just prefers to watch a 5 to 10 second clip.
Right.
And that doesn't necessarily translate well, because I gotta be honest, just because your shorts have, let's say, 10,000 views, let's say your short blew up, that
Right.
doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have automatically 10,000 subscribers.
True.
Two, that it depends the type of viewer they are, because if they only consume shorts, then what's to say that they're actually going to sit down and watch a 20-minute or an hour long video, because that's not what they consume at the end of the day.
Right.
So it really, it's, I don't know, you know what I mean? It's kind of like a gray area right now.
Yeah.
And the other thing I don't like right now is the aggressiveness with the ads. Like, the advertisement lately is very, very aggressive. And it's almost coming to the point that it's starting to affect us content creators.
That's true.
Because
Yeah. It's
we need the advertisement. Like, I keep telling people that, I'm like, if you're not supporting me, then ads are the ones that are helping me. Like, I have to receive help one way or another.
right.
So, I mean, you can do things that are free, like sharing my, you know, my content, reposting, leaving me a comment, showing engagement. That's all great. But at the end of the day, I need other media forms, because I can't turn views into money I can take to my bank account. You know what I mean? Let's
Right.
just be realistic. I can't turn my 6,000 subscribers into $6,000 to my bank account. It is what
Right.
it is. And if you're not living off of vanity numbers, like I like to call them, you want to see naturally fruits that are coming off from your labor, from the work you've put into it. It's just natural. Like, imagine me telling you, yeah, go to a 9 to 5 job and work there, and just work there because you're passionate, and
Right.
don't worry about it, and but you're not getting paid. You're gonna get tired of it
Yeah.
eventually. You're gonna be like, yo, where's my money? You know.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
So,
definitely
like,
true.
ads are ads are important. It's how us content creators live off of. But at the
Yeah.
same time, that aggressiveness they have on the platform, I feel like it's shutting down an average viewer, like somebody that just day to day consumes YouTube. Because I gotta be honest, when I'm not creating content and I'm sitting down and watching a video, I get really irritated. Like I'm
Yeah.
like every 2 minutes, every 2 or 3 minutes, I'm getting bombarded by an ad. And then
Right.
sometimes these ads are not even monitored. Like you have this one ad that's 5 minutes long or 26 minutes.
Yeah.
Like who even approved this ad?
You're right. Hey, I will be right back. I have to run to the bathroom right quick. Yeah, I'll be right back.
You're good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think I am the one running this segment, so I'm going to read some comments right now. Let me read this right now. Sentinel says those Origins name stories are wild. Okay, Jesus Christ, I can't read. Sorry, hold up, give me a second. Stepping out of your comfort zone and linking with other YouTubers, that's major. Keep up the great work. Niamani says, happy Sunday. Happy Sunday to you too, Mama. You did an amazing job, love. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hey, brother was oh yeah, that's true. My brother was the guitarist on the song Selfish from the album All About You. So that is very true. The majority of people don't understand a situation until they experience it. I completely agree, Sentinel. I think nobody understands better that experience until they have to go through it themselves. So, like, content creator on the outside and on the surface, it may look like easy, but once you step into that world and you start creating content and you start seeing all the pros and cons and everything that goes into it, yeah, it's a lot of work. Anyways, I helped you co-host a little bit.
Yes. So yeah, that's true. What you're saying about ads. Like I remember I was watching this one person video, and literally, like you said, it'd be 5-10 minutes, and I'm like, why the ads so long?
Yeah, I feel like if anything, this is my biggest critique. YouTube needs to implement, and if YouTube's watching this, please implement it with all due respects. They need a better control center where they can pre-approve what ads go into the platform, because even if you're paying for it, I don't think realistically a 20-minute video should be part of an ad. And that's the things I think they need to control better, because yeah, on TV, let's talk about traditional TV. You got ads every 5 minutes, but those ads usually would be 30 to 60 minutes, maximum 2 minutes long. Those were tolerable ads. You know, you're like, okay, you know, it is what it is. TV shows got to make their money off of some way, you know, they're advertisers. So I don't have a problem with ads. The problem I have is how they're introducing ads, and then what types of ads are being accepted on the platform. That's my main problem.
Okay. Yeah, I think, like you said, ads is definitely a problem. For some people's channels, they're getting a bit longer, and it's like, how much more can we go through this ad? You know what I'm saying? It's like, and you think YouTube will have, not to say that, you know, certain ads, if they're extremely too long, they should have a skip feature. If it's too, like, entirely too long, but if it's ads that you can get through, I'm cool with that. But some of that is like, man, like y'all ain't got nobody in YouTube saying, you know what, maybe these ads are a bit too long. You know what I'm saying? Because some of us have a very short attention span. Some of us have a decent attention span. But it can be discouraging. It may turn people away from the channel too, like, hey, this ad is extremely long. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it may not even be something they want to see at all. Like, do you guys, that's what I'm going to ask. For people that monetize, do they choose their ads?
There's two options. So you have the auto setting where YouTube automatically sets the ads. I don't do the auto. I manually set up my advertisements on my video. But realistically, the way I do it is I set so let me give you an example of how I do it. So if my video is a 20-minute video, I'll generally put an ad in the middle. So like after a 5 to 10 minute mark where watch time has been pretty lengthy, that's where I'll introduce an ad. And generally my ads will be set in a part of the video where it's not interrupting an interesting part of the video or where I'm talking about something and then I got cut off, it'll usually like end somebody's point of view or something that was really interesting. And, the ad will kick in, but it doesn't feel out of place, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So that's generally how I'll set up I kind of see it the same way, like if you were watching traditional TV, where you'd be like, I watched this. Oh, okay, this ad played. I'll go to the bathroom or grab a snack,
Okay.
in the kitchen and come back and then sit back and you know what I mean? I'll treat it that way. But there are content creators who do make the mistake that they'll put something as too many ads, and the long run it affects them because some people don't like it. So they'll just bounce off of your content. So, and watch time is like YouTube's love language. So if you're killing your own videos, it don't matter how good a video it is. If you're having like 10 ads put on your video, it's just gonna shut off people. So I that's generally how I'll do it. I'll probably maximum I probably have had maybe 3 ads on my video. But
that's not bad though. 3 ads. That's not bad.
Yeah, and then those videos are non-skippable ads.
Okay.
But the non-skippable ads tend to be like 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds. They're not long ads. So that's mainly why I manually set it, because I know that I get very irritated from a consumer side. So based on my own experience, I kind of take that into account when it comes to content creator, being a content creator, and then that's how I set up my ads.
Okay, yeah, I like the approach. Yeah, it's definitely, like you said, you divide it where you have, okay, during this part, I added there, in this part, I added there, the parts that are, what I'm saying, not the part that's going to be the most interesting. So yeah, that's a good concept behind it. And definitely, because like you said, sometimes you go to people's channel and you're like, man, this ad is extremely long. And like right off at the beginning, you like, whoa.
Yeah. And there's people that are not monetized that you'll still see ads on their videos, but it is what it is. It's just part of YouTube now, where YouTube is just going to put an ad on a video regardless if you're monetized or not. It's just the only difference is if you're a partner, then part of that percentage is going to go to you. But if you're not monetized, then let's just say it's your way of saying thank you to YouTube for letting YouTube borrow its platform so you can upload your videos on it.
Yeah, I got some videos like that where it has ads on them already. So yeah, you're right. It's pretty much a thank you, because now people are probably going to be more geared towards checking out your stuff due to that ad and just maybe even the title of the video. Yeah, it's got its pros and cons for sure. The next question is, this is interesting. I never asked anyone this. How do you feel about YouTube Studio? Do you think it's a helpful tool or no?
It's a very antique, vintage tool that I'm grateful of.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, actually, it's funny that you mentioned it, because my very early YouTube videos were made through YouTube Studio. Back when YouTube used to have a very basic video editor, that it was just the video, the soundtrack, and that's it. That's all it was. That's what I used to do to edit my videos.
Yeah.
Nowadays, like YouTube Studio, for me, it's not really something I use. I used to use a lot my YouTube Studio for the free YouTube music.
Okay.
Because they had some that was like non-copyright that you can use for your content. So I used to use that when I didn't have really people who could produce music for me. Now I do, so I don't really use the free YouTube library anymore. So yeah, it's really weird. I barely use it. I think the most I've used it for has been maybe for like, let's say I edited a video, right? And I uploaded my video on YouTube, and then I noticed there was a little mistake, because I'm a perfectionist, right? And I'm like, oh, that shouldn't have been there. And it just keeps bugging me. I'll go to YouTube Studio and slice that part, and then just have them like fix it. And then once whoever watches it afterwards didn't even know that that part existed, because it already was sliced through YouTube Studio. So that I'll take that like a late post-production thing.
um, yeah, I
Yeah.
like YouTube Studio. I'm not gonna lie. I remember a friend of mine at the time told me about it, and I was like, "Yo, what's this?" He's like, "YouTube Studio," and I'm like, "What?" So I downloaded it on my phone. I said, "Okay, I'm gonna check it out." And the first
Yeah.
thing that got me was just learning about the analytics because it's very analytical. And
Yeah.
I saw things that not necessarily help my channel, but it did improve certain things. Especially at that time, I didn't have a thumbnail. I was going to
Yes.
unorthodox approach to it, but also the intro. It showed me that some of my old intros weren't necessarily working anymore, and it did help. I saw where it benefited. So, okay, well, this is working now. It also helps you kind of find out your demographic, like who's watching it. Is someone from Canada, Japan, Russia, Hawaii, who's watching the content, and also to figure out maybe who's watching it in your city or the state that you live in. So, um, I don't get too caught up in analytics, but it does help to see kind of where you need to change certain things. Um, I've never edited anything off of YouTube Studio. I do see they have that cool feature because someone asked me about it, and I was like,
Yeah.
hold on. I'm like, I think YouTube can edit that. He's like, what, YouTube Studio? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm
But
glad you brought it
it's
up because I'm
evolving.
talking about the yeah, I'm glad you brought it up because I'm talking about, of course, the desktop version.
Hmm.
And in the desktop version, you can do those things, including you can even like blur certain things. So you know how in certain shows, like if you don't want to show like your license plate number or you want to omit certain things that are just in the video, if
Hmm.
you in the YouTube Studio, they have the option where you can blur those parts in the video. Yeah,
Oh,
so it's super beneficial if you know how to use it.
yeah.
But talking about the app, I completely 100% agree. I have the app installed on my phone mainly because sometimes I just don't want to log on to YouTube and I have people that leave me a comment under my video, and it's just easier for me to log in and just type back a response, and then just move on with my day-to-day life.
Right.
And I do check my analytics. I don't check it as often as I used to 1 or 2 years ago. Like I've been beyond that point. I think
Okay.
if anything, it's helped me is in the stage where I am as a content creator. I
Hmm.
use that towards my media kit. So when
Okay.
companies reach out to me for brand deals and sponsorships, that all that data is pretty much just put on in a media kit. So companies can look at it and see, like you said, which one is my demographics, my audience, their age and stuff. And then they can figure out and determine if I'm a good influencer or content creator to sponsor, their product, their game, et
Right.
cetera, et cetera. So that's
Yeah.
pretty much what it's helped me for right now.
Yeah, it really is because I like that they have the age feature on there because I've noticed it's been growing. Like I have an older audience. I have some younger audience too. I'm not gonna say that I don't, but I see like a lot of older people are interested. There are some younger audiences that are interested in my content. That's like, man, this is dope. You see, because at some point I would see percentages and I wouldn't see necessarily that particular age bracket then, and then I go back and I'm like, oh. So you can
I
kind of see
think
the age bracket of your audience based that way. And I think that's really cool that you can see that because you're like, who is my main audience? And I know sometimes people have struggled with their audience, and I never was like one of those people like, oh my god, my audience is mainly male subscribers. Like I've had women subscribers, but I never really panicked about it. It wasn't the biggest percentage. It's growing now, but I never was like, oh man, I only got the man audience. Like, well, the woman audience is coming. I just got to give it time.
yeah. Yeah, and I think YouTube has gotten better and better with their analytics. Like they've added new features. Like there's even a research tab where you can
Yeah,
research and see like what people are searching for when they're not watching your content. So that gives you an idea of like what to work on.
yeah.
So there's like a lot of beneficial tools, but there's a
Hmm.
lot of stuff I still wish like YouTube would implement. Like for example, one of my biggest things that I would like for YouTube to implement is called a thumbnail A and B
Okay.
testing. So like you'll upload two thumbnails and then you'll switch
between them, and then get analytics and data to figure out which thumbnail performed better and gave you the most like click-through rate. I really wish YouTube would let you do that instead of just uploading it and then waiting a couple of hours later to see how it affected your video or not.
Right.
Because it's just really unique tools for us content creators to know, like, okay, maybe I should keep doing thumbnails in this certain way, or no, this thumbnail is not working. So now I know that this is what I should be making instead for my video. So just like more experimental tools that YouTube can implement to kind of help us figure out what works for us and what doesn't work for us.
Yeah, that's true. My next question, and this is something that I know I never was really big on, and this is the new fad for YouTube, and a lot of people's been getting in trouble for it. How do you feel about content creators using AI for thumbnails or just completely editing? Like, do you like it? Do you not like it? What is your stance on that?
I don't know. It's a gray area right now because technically there's a lot of channels that have been doing that for the longest. Like you have your faceless channels where people are not in front of the camera and they tweak their voice so people can't recognize it, and they perform really well. Like usually the videos they do are like reaction videos or top 10 list of famous celebrities, or you'll see like certain trending topics that they'll usually do. And then you have like these like virtual characters that they create that are the characters that are like representing them while they're playing a game or watching a video, or
Right.
so it's always been out there. It's just I feel like now it's trending more, and people have always panicked about the word AI because they think
Okay.
like all of a sudden we're like in Terminator times and it's the end of the world, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't really think that's where we're going yet with it. But like I said, there's an audience for everything. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to take away from other content creators that are actually, I hate to put it that way, but putting in the work in a more traditional way.
Okay.
Because regardless, you are never going to attract that type of audience. Like if that audience was already into AI, you were never going to attract them, period. So it's not something that like completely bugs me. That it annoys me sometimes, absolutely, because I feel like sometimes in social media now you can't really trust who's a real person or not, because you don't know if what you're watching is actually a real person or not. But at the end of the day, I just really focus on the content I make and I would like to sit down and watch, and therefore I'm just going to track my own tribe and my own community, and it is what it is.
Yeah, AI it's tricky. I've seen AI thumbnails and AI and videos, and I'm like, it's
Yeah,
better to kind of actually work on it yourself and edit it and stuff. It kind of is a lazy route out if you really think about it. It's like, well, AI can do it, then I ain't got to do no work at all. And you're like, is it gonna do well with the thumbnail that you created with AI completely? And then on top of that, if you're editing with it, it's like, do you really want to go there?
And if you think about it, this all is a product of what I was explaining at the beginning, that everybody wants to be a YouTuber. Everybody wants microwavable results. Like everybody just wants to blow up quick. So because of it, now you have a bunch of like third-party companies telling you like, hey, you can have an AI fully edit your video. Now you have people that do thumbnail, and then people that don't want to put in the work and just want the vanity numbers, like I like to call, will just go and take that route instead. And
Yeah.
I'm not here to judge or tell anybody what to do or what not to do, but all I'm saying is like, you're always going to stand out by the professionalism, the ethics you bring on, to your place, and the time you put into your content. So sooner or later, people are always going to acknowledge that, because people appreciate other people that actually put in the time and work to bring entertainment into their lives. And it doesn't even have to be entertainment. It could be as simple as like
educational material, or some research they put into something that there wasn't just enough information about that topic out there. It could be multiple stuff, or something as simple as like as an inspirational video.
Yeah.
So it just kind of depends like what you're going in it for.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Synthesizer Zero says doesn't help on your personal skills, but personal skills isn't needed anymore to make money. Interesting perspective. Yeah. Yeah.
Don't make me go there, because we can go to other websites that are,
Don't
make me go there.
Some of the apps I use to edit my videos, some of the stuff does have AI features on it. I don't use the AI features on it, but there are some edits that they have the AI on there. So it's like I'm not gonna say necessarily escape it, but you could choose not to go with the AI editing features and go with the features they already have on InShot, maybe even CapCut, because those are some of the things that they're offering it to you, but that doesn't mean you have to take it.
Yeah,
So
I've looked at it this way. Like, there's certain things I've actually find AI useful for. Like,
mhm.
for example, vidIQ has a feature where they'd like AI generate your titles, or AI generate the description of your video.
Mhm.
And I like to use it sometimes more so like research, so I can see like how would they write a video description for the video or the subject matter of what I'm doing. And then I don't use it just like they made it. I'll make tweaks and change it, because it
Okay.
actually helps me get better in my writing skills. Like, it helps me think more better, like, okay, I can type my title this way, then I can actually make it in a way that's more appealing, that people will click on it. So for
Right.
research basis, I will look into it. That's maybe the only things I've used that I can say have been like AI based, that have actually been beneficial and helpful.
Now, I will say this. I use AI for light cut. I used to put some of my videos on Twitter, and then I would use the AI to mash up my videos. Okay, say for instance, I dropped a couple videos this week. You will see me use it for that perspective of it, where it's a slideshow. But other than that, I haven't really been completely on the bandwagon, like, oh, AI my thumbnail, AI edit my videos.
Oh
It's
yeah,
like,
no.
I like to look a little bit more into that,
And
because there's
yeah.
been a big problem with the AI thumbnails and even AI videos with YouTube recently. So I was like, they taking channels
Yeah.
down and
And
everything.
you can see that more so like your what I like to call presets. So you just have your presets for what you generally use for like your workflow or what you're doing. So it's just things to help you, not necessarily, somebody doing something for you.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, this has been great, Zap. I mean, 2 hours. Wow.
It's been fun. It's been fun.
Yeah,
Talked
it's
quite
been
a
fun
bit.
for sure. Yeah, I would like to thank everyone
This is
that
the
tuned
YouTube
in. Synthesizer Zero, 1000 Star, Master Sword, Nia. Thanks you guys so much for coming through. And also, Zap, I would like to say this: you're the first person besides Goddess with the Pen that I work with from the States. Like, literally, like, I've never worked with women content creators from the States, but I have in Africa, well, from Africa and Jamaica, but never from the States. So you're the second person. So I truly
Wow.
appreciate that.
Honored,
But for
honored to
anyone
be here. It was
that's,
fun. It was a fun talk.
oh yeah, definitely. Learned a lot. But thanks for everyone that tuned in, guys. This is episode 4. Make sure y'all catch the replay if y'all missed it. We chopped up about everything from YouTube, music, movies, directing. I mean, I didn't know Zap had this many different skills. And any last thing you wanted to say, Zap, before we go?
Well, I appreciate everybody, first of all, coming to listen to this interview. Shout out to my boy. Show some love, show some support, subscribe, hit that like button, do all those YouTube stuff. You know, y'all youngsters. Anyways, and regarding to me, just, you know, go to my website, www.zapcrystal.com, for all things Zap Crystal, podcasts, you name it. Anything I'm working on is pretty much on my website. Right now I got some videos scheduled for the rest of the year. It's going to be really good videos, like my season 1 recap of the recent Zap podcast. I got a video that is my very first time making this format, but it's a community collab where everybody from my community jumped into the video to celebrate my 7th year anniversary on YouTube.
Wow.
Never done before. So I'm pretty nervous about this video, but it's super good. And I have another video coming soon, which is a reaction video, us reacting to more RPGs, but it's community edition. So all of the games that are in the video are games that the community has selected for us to react to. So that's really different as well. And yeah, that's so far what I got scheduled for the rest of the year. Of course, stay tuned to the album that's dropping next year, and to the podcast season 2 that's also coming out really, really soon. We stay busy. That's all I can say.
Okay. Well, thanks for letting me interview again. And like I said, guys, this is episode 4. And don't worry, I'll be back for episode 5 coming December 9th for people that are wondering when is the next episode for the Content Creator Seat. Thanks again, everyone, guys. Have a wonderful Sunday or Monday, wherever you're in the world, guys. And we're out. Thanks.